His contact used to work for a PA hire company, and he got access to a lot of extra unused speakers that weren't hired out that particular weekend. This was a 3-day rave as well, with permission. The owner, the farmer of the grain store that we held it in, you know, he liked his parties and cocaine and hedonism at the time. So 4K of that 32K was sub bass, which was just dedicated to anywhere between, I don't know, I suppose 18 hertz below. And we had 22-inch drivers. And when you're talking about 22-inch drivers, you're talking that speakers that are fucking like the size of a washing machine bigger, you know, in diameter. And that they're just dedicated to sub bass. And then we had Philly shave, mid-range, and real proper horns, and everywhere in between. And it was really fucking loud, like really, really loud. I played on it, and I was really young, like I was really just getting into DJing and stuff, and I never had the opportunity to harness that much power. And I didn't really take advantage of it because I didn't know what I knew what I was doing, as in mixing. I knew how to mix one record into another, and I had some good records, but I didn't really know how to harness that power, and I wish I did. So what I did was I just played to the H&H monitors. Really, I was just like at home, but with better monitors facing me, so I didn't really realize the rig that I was playing on. But as I got older and as I did it a few more times, I never ever had the opportunity to play on a louder rig than that, apart from one time when I went to the alternative to Glastonbury, because usually every year that Glastonbury has happened, especially in the past, say, 10-15 years, there's always been an opposition, like, or free field, or a load of travellers with sound systems that have gone there to create an alternative free version of it, but more a really underground rave. And that particular year, they wouldn't have any of it, and he blocked off all of, Michael Levis blocked off all of the potential surrounding fields, and they were forced over to a different county. So they all convened and converged on this particular county. So you're talking 6-7 sound systems, but the particular system that I played on was 3 sound systems using all of their resources. So three sound systems worth of speakers, and I played on that sound system. But again, the monitors were that high quality and that fucking good that I only really got the sound off the monitors, so I didn't really experience the full potential of the power output that I had to play with. But I played on that rig as well, which was okay. I mean, looking back now, I wish I'd handled it differently, but I played okay. But bearing in mind that I'm just a very, very small guy who's from a very, very small town, from an agricultural county that doesn't really adhere or have any clue of like London fashionable culture where all these other guys grew up. I think I held my own, to be honest, for the opportunities that were presented with me. Yeah, I mean, as far as the power output, when you're presented with that much power in order to create really, really high decibels at the flick of a wrist, you don't really know what you're dealing with unless you really test it. And 9 times out of 10, you don't know how you're testing it, because the monitors, like the speakers that are facing you, because if you're playing on a rig which has got multiple speakers that are facing outwards, then you can't expect to mix properly unless you have monitors that face, because there's going to be such a delay for the distance of the speakers away from you in order to get their sound to hit you in anything that you do, unless you have a decent set of monitors facing you the whole time so you can get it in real time.
There's this place that I found right before I left Houston, and they had the best sound I've ever heard. It's called Stereo Live, and they like built the whole place based on trying to have like the best, most ridiculous sound system. It was something like 100,000 watts, you know what I mean? And it's just outrageous. So I'm looking here, they got 12 L-Acoustic Kudo, 6 flown per side, 12 L-Acoustic SB218 subs. Those are like the size of Cadillacs. 4 L-Acoustic 115 XT HIQ, 6 DV DOSCs, 2 DV subs, 10 L-Acoustic L8s, Allen and Heath QU16. I mean, just freaking outrageous, right? This place, the bass can actually move you side to side. Like if you're standing still, you feel like you're wobbling back and forth, like you're being pushed and pulled, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
man, it's stupid. I love it.
if I'm thinking it's the same company, L-Acoustic, I think, are a French company. They specialize in PA speakers. If I'm thinking of the same company, which I think they are, they are pretty much the top dog of live PA equipment,
right?
You know, for throwing sound, for outdoor stuff.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout
out to Shroom. All right, go ahead.
That's Shroomy. Yeah, that
that's who you were thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. That mental Scottish guy who keeps axes in his bedroom. Yeah,
Speak to the devil, right?
Is he still around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in chat right now.
Oh, fucking hell.
We willed him into existence.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, L-Acoustic are pretty much there's only one other really top dog company that I've heard with my own ears, because
B&W or something.
No, EV.
Do they even make? Oh, EV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, EV. Electro Voice EV. Really good. I mean, like really good. The guy that I used to work for, now I was never his apprentice, I was never his anything. I was his gardener and security guard, if anything. But he was absolutely top dog in the late 80s, early 90s. He designed the amplifiers for one of Underworld's tours, and also for the Pyramid Stage in one of the years of Glastonbury. But he's more of a bespoke, like he'll do contract work, which is like they'll say, right, here's 50 grand, now build me the best amplifier for this particular job. As in, he'll do a specific contract with bespoke work, because if they want an amplifier to do a certain thing, he can do it. Like, and he used to, in fact, magazines like car review magazines like Max Power and all that shit, they used to send him 50 amplifiers, car amplifiers, and say, can you test this to destruction and tell us which one's the best for sound output, durability, robustness, as in being driven in a car, and if you don't break all of them, you can keep the ones that you haven't destructed. And then we'll pay you on top of that as well.
Wow.
One of my mates who used to work for him a little bit more deeply, as in not just do gardening and stuff, actually used to help him in the lab. As payment, he got some of the amplifiers. He got a dragster, and he had a pair of Technics monitors. And I mean, absolute studio closed monitors, like really, 1,000 watts per a piece, 1,000 watt monitors a piece. And he had them in his camper van. They were fucking mental. Honestly, he used to be able to rock anything. Like he'd rock up as long as he had a decent enough leisure battery, which would drain it really, really fast. But he could almost have his own raves wherever he went, because he had like 2K of hi-fi studio quality, not even higher than hi-fi, studio monitor quality sound and production, 2K of it. But the batteries would just, it would just eat the battery life. Yeah, I mean, when I worked for this guy, he also had a sound system in his greenhouse. When I say a greenhouse, it was an industrial. I'm not making any of this up. I swear to God, this is the truth. He had a sound system in his greenhouse. It was a turbo sound system, and it was only mono, so he only had half of the stack. So usually this sound system would come with the other half, but he only got half the stack just for testing purposes. They only sent him and shipped him half of the stack. Usually it'd be like the two, but he only got half. But he got all the amplifiers as well with it. And when I say a greenhouse, it was an industrial size greenhouse, enough to grow maybe 200 or 300 plants.
Tomatoes, right.
Yeah, tomatoes. But he didn't use it. Obviously, he did actually smoke cannabis, but only stuff that was supplied to him. He didn't grow his own or anything like that. He was far too busy testing equipment. But I got free reign of this, and it was just around the time that Aphex Twin. Are you familiar with Aphex Twin?
Yeah, Aphex.
Yeah. Yeah, I am one of the biggest fans of Aphex Twin that you would ever meet in your life. I've
Really?
Yeah. I've literally got all the obscure stuff. Even he did, like, even the stuff.
That's not something people are usually fans of. It's like awesome, but it's not like my favorite band is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I almost feel like I know who he is, but I've never met him. I don't know who he is really. Like his name's Richard D. James. He's from Cornwall. Both of his parents are Welsh.
Oh wow! I know that.
Yeah, I know a lot about the guy and bits and bobs and his background. The reason why it's called Aphex Twin as well is because he did have a twin brother that died at birth, and he is the older brother of the two, but his brother died at birth. That's why he called himself Aphex Twin. It was around the time that he released his album called Drugs, which is spelt with a D and has a Q and a U in it. It's like actually really called Drugs or Drugs.
Yeah. What he made the weirdest videos, man. No one makes weirder fucking videos.
Well, it wasn't really him who. I mean, his soundtrack, but it was Chris Carpenter that actually made the videos. And he did work with many other people like Radiohead and people of that time, more experimental. But it was actually the director, Chris Carpenter, who was behind all of them weird releases. He just provided the soundtrack. Maybe it's a little bit of inspiration as well, but it was definitely Chris Carpenter that did that work. However, saying all this, my favorite artist of all time released literally the best album he has ever released to date, in my opinion. Like literally the first thing he had released in 4 or 5 years, and he didn't release anything else for about 13 years after that, as in a studio produced double album. It was the fucking bollocks. It was right at the time, right at the right time as well. Unfortunately for me, I happened to be working for a guy who used to do tests So not only did I test it on a 4K turbo sound system that was tuned specifically for testing and listening to music, I also got to test it on his personal hi-fi, which was in his living room, which happened to be two Tannoy speakers, each of which were the size of washing machines, and each of which were powered by not only a preamplifier but a power amplifier that he designed himself from scratch in order to specifically work in accordance with them two speakers on a Marantz high-end, really high-end CD player. And yeah, I've heard everything in that album that was meant to be heard from the studio. And when I say loud, I mean like to the point where it is so loud and so clear that it moves you, literally moves you. But as you turn it up in stages, you've got to do it in stages as well. As the decibels increase, you've got to like kind of build it up and increase the volume of it, the substance, the volume of it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's Chris Carpenter.
Oh, you can see it?
Rubber Johnny, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the weirdest ones. Yeah, Warp. Yeah, he was in collaboration with a lot of Warp Records producers at the time. Yeah, really fucking. That's a what do you call it? A Chihuahua. Yeah, I've heard that album like. And the Next Door Neighbor, which was actually a friend of ours, a Romany Gypsy guy who chain smoked skunk. He was saying, "Fucking hell, Patty." That was my my nickname when I was younger. You had that loud, didn't you? Didn't you, kid? He used to call everybody that was younger than him, he'd call them kid. It was smoking like hard as any chain. Fucking hell, Patty, you had that loud, didn't you, kid? And I was like, yeah, I fucking did. I took it right to the extreme, right to the extreme. But the thing is, with that sort of power, it maintained the volume and the clarity even at really high levels. So you're pushing out like really high decibels and high like really piercing to the point where your ears are almost like becomes unpleasurable, but it remains its clarity, and it doesn't distort. You know, like sometimes when you turn a stereo up, it gets to the point it's like it starts going
distortion.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Total harmonic distortion.
Yeah, it does a disjustice to the music that you're listening to. However, this didn't. It remained the clarity the whole way, right to the top, right to the top. Amazing. I was lucky. I was very lucky to experience that.
Yeah, I've heard some really fucking high-end speakers before, and it makes a difference. It's not just a matter of loudness or any of that kind of stuff. It's like once you hear music on a really high-end system, it almost sounds better than if you were to hear it live, if that can even make sense. Kind of like some of these TVs nowadays look like the picture looks more vibrant than real life, even, you know?
Yeah, vivid technology. I'm just gonna try and plug my webcam in to show you my home setup, because you know, my home setup isn't too shabby, like really, for the budget that I have. And obviously, like, I've been collecting these pieces of equipment over time. Let me just try and change, because at the moment I'm running off the webcam that is built into the top of my laptop. So I'm not sure whether I can actually. Here we go. No. Oh, there we go. Save. Turn it on again. Oh, there we go. Look, yeah. Right. Is it moving around now?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my home setup at the moment. Bear in mind that really it's not actually. Oh, it's gone off. Hang on. Right. Yeah. There we go. This is a system that I've been collecting over time. Yeah. Some of this stuff is like 30 years old. Right. So
You're good.
So at the bottom there, that's
an old school Kenwood.
Yeah, it's a tuner amp. So that is rated about 180 watts RMS, and then above that is an old school tape deck for my really old early mixtapes and raves. Above that is a 16-bit Technics.
That looks like a Marantz on top.
This one here is a 16-bit. Sorry, 18-bit Technics CD player, really early, and then the top one that's an absolute monster. That my stepdad actually gave that to me, but that has been to so many parties. He actually it was either me or him. I can't remember who it was, but we blew it about 10 years ago. We battered it.
What is it? Monster?
Sony. It's a Sony.
Oh.
Sony. And it was sent to the guy that I was talking about, and he turned it into he rescued half of it and turned it into a preamp. So that's a 365 watt per channel preamp, and everything goes through there and then into the bottom amplifier. So I've got just to my hands at home, I've got 500 watts RMS hi-fi quality, which is like of sound, and then I've got these are my speakers here. I've got two stacks here. This is like 100 watt, more modern for more like top end and mid range. That's a Sharp's 1 bit response, quite adaptive. And then underneath that, I've got another Technics one, and then right at the bottom, I've got a pair of Technics 200 watts. So there's exactly the same the other side. So potentially I've got like, I don't know, maximum about 400, 600, 700, yeah. But I've only got the power to power them for about 5. So I've got about 500 to 700
but
watts.
Those techniques are old, right? Like 80s at least, or early 90s?
The bottom ones are late 90s. The mid ones are about the same, maybe it's a couple of years older.
Good. I was gonna say, because they changed, they kind of got bought out or whatever, and their quality went way down.
Well, Technics is owned by Panasonic, and I don't think they've ever been bought out by anybody. So it's Panasonic Technics. But I used to use them bottom speakers just on their own for practicing my DJing and mixing with, and then they've never let me down. Over the years, they've deteriorated because I've really absolutely bashed the arses out of them over the years, and I've kind of replaced that by getting better speakers and putting them on top and then adding to it. But I've got the top ones and the bottom ones bridged, as in they're sharing the signal to kind of make the quality better, and then the middle ones are mostly 3-way, mid-range and top. But I've also got a I forgot to show you this. I've got a really high quality sub. It's a JB, not a JBL. It's some weird company that you've never heard of, that I'd never heard of. But it's a really high quality 50-watt sub, and it's got a crossover, and it's got a frequency dial on the back, an analog frequency dial that you can twist, and it is fucking loud, really loud, to the point like you could run it on its own and annoy the neighbours just with that.
Nice.
And they would get annoyed because there's no like mid and there's no top end to it, so you could just literally annoy them with the frequencies. Like it's that good. It's really good. I paid like 30 quid for that. But, yeah, I can make.
I'm impressed, man, with them little smaller subs. This one here, it's a Boston acoustic, and it shakes pictures off the wall. I mean, I was highly impressed with it. Yo.
Yeah, subs are really good, man. I love subwoofers. This one as well, the one that I showed you, it's got its own amplifier. It's got like a little car amp that is built into the internals of it, and it is very effective. It does actually, to be honest with you, it does heat up. If you exploit it, it does heat up and eventually has a cutout, and it will cut off and like say, right, you can't use me now for about 3 hours until I've cooled down. But you just got to know not to get it to that point, really. And I know how to not to get it to that point where it won't overheat and shut off. You know, it's got an internal thermostat which once it gets above a certain temperature, it will just cut out and stop working for about 3 hours until it's cooled down. You know.
Holy shit. Yeah, I've always wanted to get a tube amplifier, man, but just the good ones are so expensive. And
it's not just that, man. The tubes, that you have to replace the tubes regularly on them. They're really expensive. There's only so many companies that still make tubes. So
yeah,
every time you fuck it up, every time you blow a tube on it, it doesn't work, and it's postage and like fucking $40, whatever, $60, or it's really old school technology that is expensive to replace every time. And
there's just a different sound to it. I'm not saying for sound quality or anything like that, just to have a badass like coffee table sized freaking tube amp, you know, like 500 watts a channel. Just have you ever seen some of them? They look like art pieces.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they all light up, and they're like, well, they don't even light up; they glow. They glow, and as the power is being utilized or drained from them, they dim, and they're beautiful. They are beautiful pieces of equipment. I get it.
I heard these speakers are called monoliths. They're $100,000 a piece per speaker. They're in like a granite or marble cabinet. God, I'd have to look up the brand. But anyway, so it's just these two speakers, stereo, and there's a giant coffee table looking thing in the middle of the room, which is the amp, and it's got these honking ass power cables coming out of it to each of these speakers.
I had this conversation with the guy, and bearing in mind he is high functioning autistic, right? This is the guy that I used to be the gardener for, and I had this conversation with him, and I think it was one night where I plucked up the courage to really kind of question him about things, and the thing is with this guy, there's only like certain opportunities you would have with him to catch him where he would really open up and talk to you, because he was autistic and high functioning, and if you didn't catch him at the right time, he wouldn't open up to you and tell you the truth. He just sometimes you just wouldn't think that you were worthy of talking to. Unfortunately, that's just the way he was. Okay. But this one time I talked to him about that, and basically what he said to me, it's all about opulence and spending money. He said that you can build the best stereo for a certain set amount of money. Anywhere beyond that, all
Yep.
you're doing is you're paying for the materials that surround the quality.
True.
Yeah, you are not, your human ability to hear
That's
the difference in quality and sound is not capable of hearing the difference between £6,000 and £20,000, because
no.
once you get to a certain ceiling, it is the difference in quality. It does differ. However, as a human, your capability of noticing that difference with any human's hearing is not going to notice it. And he also said, to back up that, is you're paying for the surrounding of the equipment. You're paying for the casing, whether it be very, very high grade titanium or standard quality aluminium or steel.
Well, this that super outrageously priced setup we heard. A friend of mine worked for this company called Houston, I don't know, whatever, a home theater and car audio place. And some of his friends, worked at this other store, which is like a super high end, like by appointment only type of audio and visual type store. Like they used to sell 100-inch TVs, like right when HD first ever even came out, stuff like that. This amp, you had to turn it on 20 minutes before you wanted to listen to it. Like it had to warm up or something, you know what I mean? You never heard of anything like that? But anyways, about
the only thing that would hurt, the only thing that would be a valve amplifier that would have to do that, and anything else I'm not so sure about really. Maybe it's just for precautionary, in order to if you were going to, like, say 20 minutes before you were just about to go with the dial, like fucking whack it up, like go from nothing to producing nearly the maximum output. That would be the only reason why you would have a 20-minute warm up, as in basically you weren't overreaching the limits of the amplifier before it was ready or warm up.
Yeah, it was something to do with warming up, because it was a tube.
Or a valve, or a valve or tube, which is the same thing. A tube, a valve amplifier. That's they're the only reasons why I would say you would have to leave it for 20 minutes. If it was anything else, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. This haunted house guy said he was going to come on, but I guess not. Huh? Let's see. Yeah, no, the best pair of speakers, I almost bought them. They were under $2,000, like let's say $1,600 for this pair, and they were actually bookshelves. And they had their own stand, like a metal stand, but they were bookshelves, and they only had like a little 6-inch and a tweeter. That's it. And they're wrapped in leather. The brand was called Sonus Faber. Something, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Sonus Faber. And I back in the day, we used to go around with our own like super audio CD and everything, like going and testing all the different things.
High bit rate ripped CD.
Yeah, it was all mid and high end, and well, you didn't need a sub, but you with the sub, of course it is. And that's the thing too about subs; they're not all like that punchy bass. Subs where you turn it on and you don't even notice it, but it just changes how the whole thing sounds.
it's below 18 hertz, and what it does as well, which most people miss out. And for me, I'm an amateur audio connoisseur. I'm an amateur audiophile. So when the sub is producing the bass, which was intended to be broadcasted with the other sounds, especially with the other basses that are being produced at the same time, it interacts with the other basses. So you, like with this sub here, you can turn it right down to low production, and then turn the crossover right down to, it's got a frequency dial on it on the back of it. So you can make it like produce more mid sub or more really low inaudible sub, and
Yeah,
the bass reacts with other bass lines. So like there's a particular tune by I think it's by Benga. It's called 13 Bass Lines. It's one of his really early records, a track off his album called 13 Bass Lines, and it goes through so many different frequencies of bass, and it's a really good test tune to use, especially for tuning your sub. And because my stack, like most of my stack is top end, but the two bottom speakers, they will kick out some heavy bass, but only like maybe 20 to 22 hertz above. But the sub it's a mono sub. I've only got one of them as well. It will do everything below 18 hertz, probably as low as maybe, I don't know, 8 or maybe even 6 hertz. So it's completely inaudible. But when you turn it up, it interacts, because if you get it tuned to the right frequency, and then you turn it right down so it's not producing any output, and you turn the music right up, because it's on a separate feed. It's on like a standard feed. And then you turn the output up on the sub. It affects the bass of the already produced output from your speakers without even touching it. So what I'm trying to say to you is, certain frequencies of low bass affects the other bass of the music that's already existing, and that's how it kind of works, because it's such a low frequency. If you tune it right, if you get it right, you can really enhance any kind of output from your hi-fi. If you get the balance correct, if you get it like a sweet spot, and obviously it's gonna affect depend on the size of the room, where you're sat in relation to the speakers, etc., and how much you turn it up. But if you tune your sub in accordance to what's already been played, you can get some really high quality sound out of the shittiest of setups. You really can.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what you're doing, and you've got enough power to push the frequencies, and obviously if it's a good tune and a good CD. Or record.
Yeah, I've been meaning to put a sub back in my car, but I never listen to the radio. I just have an earpiece in and I'm listening to my phone and YouTube. I'm addicted to YouTube, I think. Oh well. Let me see. I gotta take a step outside. Imagine carpet ride. Yeah, if anybody wants to join us, we are talking about fidelity. Let's see.
I wish I could demonstrate, honestly. My neighbour texted me a couple of days ago or whatever it was, and said that her family is staying. So otherwise I would happily, not that you would get it from the microphone of my laptop, but you know, I could at least give you a demonstration. But I can't. I literally can't, unless I would have to take like 3 days of grief and another black mark against my name because my neighbour is in her 60s and she's got family staying at the moment. So she texted me a few days ago saying I've got family staying until the 25th or no, 20 whatever it is. They're still there now, 25th onwards. So I just can't do it.
Hey, have you ever heard any of the music I've made? I had a couple videos quite a long time ago that I put out. Some dubstep music. One's like experimental, electronic, like experimental, really fast drum and bass, and then just a melodic. You like it?
No. What? Do you mean the music that you're into? Yeah.
It's on my channel. 2 videos that are that have songs I made.
I can't say I have.
One of them is called Ordo ab Chaos, you know, the order out of chaos in Latin. And the other one is my grandmother beating a piñata with a bat in slow motion.
What is this stuff that you've composed yourself, or?
Yeah, it's on my channel. Yeah. Way back in some of the first videos.
Using what kind of
Sony Music Studio.
Okay.
The other one I made, oh no, both of them are Sony Music Studio. Fruity Loops and Acid. Like Acid, yeah. I learned how to do stuff on Acid. It was so easy. I loved it for how simple it was.
That was. Do you remember Fatboy Slim? Is one of his best and most pinnacle albums. You've come a long way, baby. That's what predominantly a lot of the stuff was ripped on Acid. That was a lot of the stuff was done through Acid. Fruity Loops is. I've still got a license for Fruity Loops Studio. Yeah, I've been using that for a long time. Not that I've ever released anything off it, but I don't know. I had this conversation a couple of nights ago or whatever it was, last night or whatever, with somebody else, and I've kind of rewritten music in my head. I don't think it's all about patterns and quantizers and rhythms and BPMs anymore. I think it's more about emotion and feeling. And if you can harness the ability to use sound to provoke certain emotions, then it doesn't really matter what frequency or rhythm it has, as long as it has some kind of structure that you can go along with, like you know when it starts, you know when it stops. If it's next level shit, which I would like it to be, me personally, I would like to redesign anything that we would ever call music and call it something else. You know, just be like a audible extrasensory experience that lasts for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I would like to redefine music on a fundamental level and progress it.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I know when you achieve that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's going to take a lot. Maybe I'm going to be one of the first to experiment in that direction. We don't know. You know, it's all there. It's, you know, my ideas and the way I'm going to do it. You know, the means of going about it. It's all there, but it's, you know, it's just putting it into practice, having enough time and money. I don't mean like it's going to cost loads of money. I'm just thinking like the amount of time that I'm going to have to put in and the money that it's going to cost to support myself whilst I'm doing that task. It's not, obviously it's going to take some time to get it right, at least right enough for it to be released. And
my problem is when making music or for instance, or any of that kind of stuff, or art. Like, I'm a pretty good artist. I can draw and like photorealistic stuff, you know. But sitting there, I'm such like a perfectionist that I can't finish anything, you know what I mean? And I like quit or have to take breaks, and it just takes me so long to, like, one song can take me days, you know, and it's simple, and then I end up putting too much in it, and it's like, it sounds better when it's simple, and I don't know.
Well, there is. I totally comprehend exactly what you're saying, because I'm of the similar ilk, and there is an answer to that, and the answer is never to finish anything. Just leave it as an ongoing project that you can add to at any time. But obviously, you know, make it when you're comfortable enough that you're willing to share what you've achieved so far. Make it public, as in release it, but don't call it that in your head. Just like you're sharing how your progress so far, and don't ever finish it. Just make it as an ongoing project that you can constantly upgrade and perfect as you're going along. Is anybody else going to join us, or we're just going to be doing the old back and forth for like fucking the next?
Well, I didn't really tell anybody we were doing this, so let's see. Whoa, weird, like just glitched out. So here's one I did when I was in 10th grade. This horse here. And then let's see. And then this one I actually sold at auction for $11,000. This wagon guy. That's a print of it in the monochrome. But these took me so long to do, you know what I mean? Like they weren't fun for me, and that's with paint. These are both with Prisma pencils. Do you do any art thing?
Sorry?
Do you do any art?
No, I'm not really. No, I'm not really versed and not really practiced in any kind of, putting down markings on. I just don't do it.
This is my favorite one. That's my favorite one I've done right here.
It looks like a black woman.
What? Huh?
It looks like a black woman kneeling down.
What are you talking about?
Oh no.
Are you looking at what I'm looking at?
Yeah, sorry. It was me. I was fucking tripping, man. Sorry. It is a cockerel.
A rooster, right? That's what you see?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this.
But it still does look like a black woman kneeling down in some respects.
Oh no, you see that? Yeah, I didn't get to go to the auction with this because I wasn't in 12th grade yet. I was in 11th grade, and they only take like 2 students that are not seniors in the whole school district to the Fort Wayne County or the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. But yeah, this used to be a Bud Light box that looked so cool, and I had to change it to wood because, you know, we drew it for school. but that's my favorite one I've done. This one here.
Did you sell that?
No. I sold a couple prints to family members, you know, for like $200 or whatever. This is what I'm working on next. Got a piano. It's a Baldwin. I don't know how to play. Beep, 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 beep. I've always wanted to learn how to play the piano.
Is it tuned?
Yes, that's the crazy part. I got this for $20, man, at the auction in my local town. We have
somebody must not have wanted it or whatever. But
well, it's a small town. We only have like one traffic light in the whole town, and it's usually a bunch of old people. And nobody, you know, it's a big heavy ass thing, and people just, I don't know, they don't got any room for it. They don't. Another person bidding against me, and they bid first. It was $5, or it was $1. They bid, then I bid $5. Then it went up to 10. They bid $10. Then it went to 20, and I bid. And I'm like, okay, I'll go up to like $50 maybe. And then I won the bid for $20. I was like, holy shit! I just bought a piano. And I thought I'd have to get it tuned, but no, the sucker is in full tune. It's crazy.
that's a very, very reasonable price for a piano.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. I'm sure I could sell it online for $500. You know what I mean? It's a friggin' Baldwin. It's really well made. It sounds great. I don't know. It'd be pretty cool to have like a grand piano though, just chilling. Yeah. I really want an organ, you know?
Well, like an extra organ, or
like it looks like a piano, but it's got that organ sound to it. Not a pipe organ. I'd love to have a pipe organ, but
something that you can pump.
No, not the one you have to pump, but it's got there's electric versions. Yeah. You know, you have to plug them in, and then you can change a few settings and make the sound change. But you know that final countdown by Europe? That sound, it's like
it's the final countdown.
Hell yeah. Hey, what's up, Haunty?
What's going on, man? Hey, it's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, man.
Who you guys are speaking my language?
Meet me or meet Ace?
Both you guys. Chris?
Both.
Is this who is this Validation Boy?
Validation Boy?
You sound a little bit like him, yeah. No? Is it not? Am I wrong?
Well, Chris, I don't really think that I sound like Validation Boy.
You do, a little bit. Well, a lot.
Well,
actually.
You think that I do. I'm going to have to send the hit piece out on you then.
Fucking do it, man. Honestly, I'll welcome it. Anytime you like, man. In fact, I will look forward to it. As long as you've smoked enough pot before you do it. Yeah. So you can, you're confident about doing it, you know. Who am I talking to? Come on, you know who I am. My face is all out there. Come on, who are you? Hey?
I'm the antithesis of Validation Boy.
See.
My face is out there too.
Oh, there we go. Hello. How are you?
G'day, mate.
You're not as stupid as I look.
Oh, I'm dumber.
Why, thank you.
But who are you,
Well,
Chris? But who are you, though? Are you Chris?
I'm nobody, man. I'm just a.
Chris, Truth Seeker. All right, I know who you are then.
I'm at best a commentator and an assistant.
Why were you guys talking about a Chris Carpenter?
Cool.
Director of mostly Warp Record stuff. Are you driving? Should you be broadcasting whilst you're driving?
Holy
I do
shit.
all the time.
I didn't know what I was looking at first, but he's great. Aphex Twin. He did a few big videos too. He did like Madonna and shit.
Oh, can I give you a? This is only a rumor. This is only a rumor, right? However, I do think there is some credence to this. In the early days, when Aphex Twin was like kind of really edgy, underground, and popular, when he was like really selective. Well, not even selective. He just didn't do anything with anybody. He just released his own stuff, and like it would just be like, well, I've released this, and I haven't done anything for 4 years, and I've released this. Allegedly, Madonna contacted Aphex Twin to remix one of her records. This is back in like the 90s, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do it, but only if you phone me up and you oink like a pig." And she wouldn't agree to it. She's like, "No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not. And are you serious?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to phone me up, speak to me personally, and if you oink like a pig at me, like really put some effort into it." Like,
he said that to Madonna.
Yeah. Allegedly, yeah. This is it may well be one of these fucking urban myths that goes around these fucking Empire magazines or whatever. But she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't phone him up and oink like a pig to him. So he said, "No, I'm not going to remix one of your records."
I'm sure
Are
that
all
was
of us vaping?
I'm sure that was. Is this a three-way vape going?
Yeah, I think it is. Hell yeah. Woohoo. We should have a cloud contest.
I win.
Those are so ignorant. Fucking cloud contest. What the fuck?
I was just watching some silly shit on YouTube by, do you remember when the magazine Wired was actually kind of cool? I think when it first came out.
Yeah, I remember when it came out.
They have some of the worst. They're like Vice. They Wired did a Flat Earth article years ago though, and it was Flat Earth, the Flat Earth Society, but they did a video, it was a video on vaping and how what's vaping gonna do to people in years to come, and they just totally like lambasted it and made it sound like it's something bad.
That's Shelly.
I know it is. And it makes no sense because they tried it once with that whole rumor of popcorn lung.
Yeah.
Which is the grossest thing I've ever heard, to put those two words together. It's just like awful. I pictured like a really decayed lung, like meat organ inside of someone's chest, but the guy actually did something really cool. He did, because everyone has those tricks and stuff. I can't do any of that shit. I could do the rings, but this guy was like pushing them in the air, like.
Yeah. There's some and blowing O's through other O's and changing them into different shapes and shit.
There is one that I figured out how to do. Let me see if I can do it again.
The Cyclone. Are you blowing multiple O's or something?
No, you know what it is? I'm in a weird position.
Are you driving?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Cyclone one was pretty cool, actually. The guy blew it all over the countertop, and then
Yeah,
he
yeah.
lifted it up. I never thought that one.
Yeah. I've been able to do that a couple times. I can't do it like they do, though.
You got to be in a room.
Stealth vaping is definitely the way forward. Do you know why? Because you can walk into a department store with it not even showing, like just like this. You take you can fill the place with smoke, and it's not smoke, sorry, vapor. You can fill it, absolutely fill it, like, and it's going to be at least 3 minutes before they ask you to leave, and you can do it about 4 times, and it's really funny. Like TK, do you have TK Maxx in America? It's basically like a department store where they have like
TJ Maxx.
TK Maxx. Oh, okay. Basically, TK Maxx is like a really basic store, and like all you've got is just like shitloads of rails of designer clothes that are about.
Yeah. Ours is called TJ Maxx though, and it's like cheap designer clothes, like blemished clothes or something.
Yeah. Some of them are second, some of them are out of season, some of them are just like extra large shit that people don't want, or extra small shit that people don't want. And you got shitloads of it, so you can go in there, you can vape like at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 hits, and just fucking fill the area that you're in before you get asked to leave. And then eventually they say, oh, you can't do that in here, and then you just like, oh really? It's just been doing it for like 5 minutes before you've asked me to leave. Stealth vaping is the way forward. This is such an efficient little device. It's got a TFV4 Mini. It's got the RBA section, the 3-coil one, which I built myself. I say built. You know what? There's such what's the word? There's such what's the word?
Anonymousness.
No, there's such pride when people say, oh, I built this deck myself. Well, actually what you did is you got some coils and you just twisted them, and you just put, it's really easy to do.
Correct.
This is so efficient. It's got 3 coils. They're only small coils, but you can absolutely fill a room, and the battery doesn't last for very long. It's like, watch.
How many watts are you hitting that thing on, dude? Why you gotta click it like that?
100 watts. That's why I'm pulsing it. It's
how much? What?
100. It's rated.
Turn it down to like 75 or 80 for a 3-coil.
No, you can't. It's a mechanical mod. You can't. It's just 100 watts, and that's it. It does go down once the battery drains a lot. It goes down a lot. You can, but 100 watts, like when it's fully charged, which is nearly fully charged, it is really efficient. You have to pulse it at like a second, maybe 2 seconds at the very most.
Yeah, I've got a TFV4. Right now I've got an 8-coil in it. It's got 8 fucking coils, dude. It's crazy.
One of the best tanks they ever made. This one's the TFV8 on the
Cloudmaster or whatever they call it.
Cloud Beast. TFV8. This one is with an RBA. It's not the 16, it's the 8 one, but it's a dual coil, and the coils are fucking massive on it. It's only at 42 watts. So split over the 2 coils, you're only talking like just over 20 watts each. So it's the way that I've got it set up at the moment. It's like a long draw, but if you take the long draw off it, you get shitloads of vapor.
Yeah. I saw a new tank. I don't know what it's called, but it holds like 20 milliliters of juice, dude. It's so fucking massive, and you have to wrap your own coils in it. They don't sell atomizers, like, but it's so fucking massive, dude. I wish I remembered the name of this thing. It's like $80 for this stupid thing.
I'm at the point now where I'm making my own coils and stuff, and spinning my own coils. I've got all the equipment to do it and stuff. I think it's the way forward rather than the pre-built one, because it just becomes really expensive. Because how much I vape. Listen, hang on 1 second. Let me just show you something. Back in 1 second. Right, I'm back. This is my vape juice. So that when I mix it myself, when I make it or mix it myself, that's how much I mix at a time. So that's half a litre, 500 milliliter bottle. So I don't, because over here, like, it's for the really expensive VG stuff, it's like anywhere between 15 and
$1 a milliliter, basically.
Yeah, with this, I can make shitloads really cheaply, and this is using organic VG, vegetable glycerin, and a combination of natural. This is actually tea juice concentrate, which is red Astaire. But yeah, so.
The newest juice I just got is raspberry, and it's actually real raspberry extract from actual raspberries. Oh man, it's so yummy. But
yeah, I was going for the fruit stuff.
Yeah, I like the fruity flavors. Like this is like a red berry kind of menthol, like red berries and menthol. 3 milligram, around about 3 milligram. I consume an awful lot of it. You know, when I get going, it's the first few vapes of the day are always, you know, awkward. But I was a very heavy smoker, so to be honest with you, I much prefer doing this because my teeth are much more healthy. I do cough occasionally, but it's nothing like what I used to do. And yeah, I can vape all day, all night, and it's nothing like what I used to, you know, suffer with.
You guys vape temperature control, or the?
No, never.
I can't figure that shit out.
No, it's I don't get it either. I've tried, but you've got to have the right kind of coils to do it.
Yeah, it's got to be that nickel special,
or stainless steel or titanium. It doesn't make any sense. It's much easier for me to do it variable wattage, and just do it that way rather than maintain the temperature. Because if it, you know, like if it's getting too hot or if it's vaping too hot, then you just take your finger off the vape button and then start again. You know, this has got like a 12-second, 10 or 12-second cut out anyway. But if it's getting too hot, then I just turn the wattage down to something where it doesn't get too hot, and I just like. I don't get the variable temperature thing. I just it doesn't make any sense to me. Pointless. It's like a gimmick, really.
Whoa. What that one that you got, Chris? I was gonna get that one, the little guy. Oh wait, no, not that one. That's the one I have. I think we have the same setup. Is that a rouleau 2/3?
This is a rouleau. Is it 2000S or 3000S or something? It's the rouleau 3 battery one.
Yeah,
the new one.
The 2/3, the one that you can detach the battery.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is like three 18.650s, and then
that's the 200 model.
Three
yeah,
18.650s. Damn, dude.
yeah.
This one on the back,
That's
dude, this comes off. So if I want to take it down from 3 to 2,
Nice.
so I wouldn't really want to do that. But I've got the Cloud Beast on top, which is fucking behemoth, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're fucking great. This is what I'm using now. Yeah, they're really good.
I started out with this one though. That's spilling all over me, of course.
Yeah, this is actually. It's funny. It's funny you should say that because I'm actually just getting some toilet roll now to fucking mop this.
I always lick it, and they were saying on that propaganda video that I was watching, like, if a child drank a sip, he would die.
Oh man, it's such bullshit. They will say anything.
You know, that propaganda is put out by Marlboro and Camel.
Oh yeah.
The original thing was, oh, the e-cigs are bad. There's chemicals in them, blah blah blah. Well, guess what? There was in the ones. I mean, you know, the ones at the gas station, like Blue Cig and
they're really
those are made
shitty, like E-lights and all that. And
they are produced by the tobacco companies. Marlboro actually makes Blue Cig.
I don't use any vape products that contain any PG whatsoever. I've completely eliminated PG, apart from this particular mix. And I only did this because I couldn't get hold of any other concentrate before I went on vacation recently. Otherwise, this is a minute. I'm talking maybe is between 1% and 3% of PG, just to carry the flavors.
There's nothing wrong with PG.
I like the
circus cookie, huh?
Yeah,
the only I really would. The only thing that puts me off buying and all them flavors, and they really are flavorsome and very Moorish. And don't get me wrong, I've tried them. It's just the cost. It just seems to.
Yeah, it's a little fucking ridiculous. $25.
I know. That's why I mix my. I know. That's why I mix my own, and I stay away from anything as much as I can that has PG.
Speaking of,
when I get really into vaping, I'm just like fucking, just like really vaping. Like,
I don't know when to stop. Sometimes I'm like, when do I stop?
I know, yeah. There's no limit, is there?
I'm like,
man, you're not putting enough nicotine in it. That's why.
I started out with 6, and then I dropped down to 0. But then I picked up the Aphex. I went back up to 3. But I'm glad that the 0 nicotine's got more of an honest flavor. Like whatever. I like the dessert selections. But
that's right.
It's like the goopy stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of, tomorrow is my favorite vape shop. They mix custom flavors right in front of you, like pure VG, pure nicotine, pure freaking flavor. That's, you can get PG if you want, but VG. And tomorrow they're doing like half off sale, so I'm gonna go stock up on a bunch of like 100 milliliter bottles of them. I'm gonna have like a liter of fucking juice. Yeah.
This particular setup for portability and efficiency, I have never found anything that compare. The only drawback is the battery power. Like, you would need at least 2 of these devices because the batteries are built into it. It's a Tesla.
I almost got
Stealth. But they do 2 versions. This is the bigger one. They do like a really small one that'll only take very small tanks. But this one will actually take I think it's a 22 millimeter is the maximum. So it will take the TF V4 Mini, but they do actually do two versions of this. They do the 40 watt and the 100 watt. This is the 100 watt version, and it is a little bit overrated for the tank that I'm using. That's why I'm having to pulse it rather than take long draws. But I've never found anything for portability, stealth. But the only drawback is, you know, your battery is shit, and it's not replaceable.
I got 3 batteries, and then I bought another 3 batteries, and then I got a charger, so I never have to worry about charging anymore.
Yeah.
Because coming from an electrical background, the best way to, because like you could tell someone, yeah, you don't want to charge with such a thin micro USB, but they're not going to really understand why. So I was telling people, like, picture like a barrel of soda and giving yourself, like, taking a straw, trying to drink it. Like, you'll be there forever. Like, that's pretty much what it is. The device is going to be starved of the current, so it's not going to get any energy. But when you hit it with the charger, it really evens it out. So each cell has like a good constant 4.2.7. What I was going to say before was, you know that guy Synthetic Dread?
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say this, but well, I guess, how could I not incriminate him now?
Can you turn your volume up somehow?
Yeah, you know what? I think you might be able to do that.
I just did.
From the mainframe. I could scream a little louder.
Or where's your mic at? All right, no, go ahead. Keep going.
He had something in his tank, and I've heard from a few different people wax. Because I'm like kind of like, I don't know, 8 years out of the drug world.
Yeah,
I've never heard of wax before, but getting high with vaping.
Oil. Yeah, it's a concentrate. It's like oil or wax.
Yeah,
Honey
it looked
oil.
like it was. Yeah, something like that.
But yeah,
I've been looking at it like, how can you get stoned with these?
Last year when I was smoking, like I haven't smoked weed in almost a year now, but I had a little, like a mini vaporizer before I bought this one.
You're not really gonna get stoned. You're gonna get the effects of the CBD, which is only gonna it's gonna affect you somewhat. I mean, I haven't experimented, but it's going to cost me like $100 to buy a bottle of this and then mix it into. So it's going to be expensive for me to experiment. However, I don't think you're really actually going to get stoned with it. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, he's using real THC. The extract contains THC. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
You know, dabs. People do dabs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
That's exactly what it is. He's doing a dab with a coil. So it's not a coil like this. There's like a dish inside, and you just put your goop on the dish, and it heats up the dish, and that releases the vapor. Yeah.
It's almost like freebasing.
A lot, like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. You're freebasing the crystals off of the weed.
Yeah, that's like getting into meth territory.
The thing is with it is some of it is going to get.
I own a meth pipe. I actually own a meth pipe. Can you believe that?
That's the one drug I've never done. I got to say that meth is. Thank God I never did it. Have all the other ones? Yep.
You know, the people that are on it, they don't look like they're having fun. That's the thing.
No. It looks like you go straight to strung out, like straight to coke strung out, like 8 hours after coke. That's what one hit of meth is like. It's like, this is great. This is great.
Have you ever talked to anybody have you ever talked to anybody who's done crack? Is crack the same, like as in crack crystals, which is basically freebasing cocaine, smoking it? Have you ever talked to anybody who's?
Yeah.
I know it's done in different ways in different countries, but in England, like anybody who's really into their cocaine, they use a chemical process which crystallizes the cocaine into a smokable crystal, and then basically you're taking a shitload of coke, but you're smoking it in a crystallized form, and they call it crack. In the UK, they call it crack. Is it the same in the US or?
Yeah.
A crack.
Yeah.
If you're gonna burn it, it's you're pretty much smoking crack. I don't know why the hit comes a lot faster. Although when you snort a line, I guess maybe it's better for burning off all that baby laxative and all that extra shit that's in there.
Ugh,
Well, it depends. Like if you couldn't it off a block, so if like not yourself, but if say somebody you know has
people
got like
people that make crack,
they're shaving it. They're shaving it off the block, or like literally using a very sharp edge to shave bits off a block of.
That's not crack, no.
Yeah, I know that is just cocaine, but then you use a chemical process in order to turn it into a crystal, which is freebasing, and then you smoke the crystal, which would be like a crack cocaine.
That's also like people who snort a lot of drugs want to snort everything. So if someone's used to freebasing heroin, you give them a little coke, they're going to want to freebase the coke. It's like a preference, really. Because
I know what you're saying.
All you got to do is put it on your skin.
Yeah, people get addicted to the method more than not more than, but as well as the substance. They get addicted to the method that they ingest it.
Like smoking, it's like a hand. Whatchamacallit? It's a
ritual, a habitual thing.
Yeah, that thing that that habit that forms when you're.
Mm-hmm.
It's like taking something and putting it in your mouth. That's or I like vaping because of the whole cloud aspect of it.
That's right. That's exactly because all the nicotine gum in the world and the patches and all that shit. That you could be overdosing on nicotine and you still are like, damn, I want a cigarette. You could be dizzy and have a headache because you got so much nicotine in your system, but you still feel like smoking a cigarette.
I'm like 2 years of giving up smoking now. Like complete. I don't even buy anything that is associated with like hand rolling tobacco, normal ready-made cigarettes or anything. And whilst I was on holiday over the last 2 weeks, I've just come back from vacation. I had a couple of cigarettes, and it fucking stinks. Like it really, it makes your fingers stink.
It tastes like bathroom.
It makes your mouth stink, and it makes you like even like the space, your top lip, the space between your nose and your
upper
top
lip.
Yeah, it makes that smell as well, and it's. I'm sorry to be graphic, but I felt like I'd licked dog shit. I really
be graphic.
Did.
Be as graphic as you can.
Well, okay, all right. Let me.
I prefer that.
Okay. It felt like I'd like gone like that along a load of like really like a dirty stray dog had been eating rancid meat for weeks, and did this really sloppy, putrid, sun-dried shit, and then I'd gone and rubbed my face in it and got it all, and like no matter how many showers I had and mouthwash and gargling and cleaning my teeth, and it stunk.
It's like tilting your head back underneath a yogurt, like a soft ice cream machine, except it's shit.
Yeah, but just the correct consistency. Yeah, just the right for it to form when it was piled on top of each other, but not too much in order to be classed as a solid.
I had a friend who would always be like, "Does my breath stink?" And I'm like, "Well, it didn't before, but now it does. And I told
why
him,
did his breath stink?
because he was gross. He was just like real, like oily. He was a real oily person. And
do you know?
I told him it was like a plate of shit that never left. It was like, well, it's over here now. I can't get away from it. It's everywhere. Forward, back.
Do you know what? Do you know what really did it for me? What really did it for me? I have a bit of a phobia about dentists, and I don't know whether it's an experience that I had when I was 4 years old, where I had a tooth out, and I was kind of traumatized by it. That probably has had a lot of part to play in my phobia.
Probably all the drilling and shit inside your mouth and stuff.
Yeah,
that everyone gets.
and the pay, yeah, and all that. But anyway, to cut a very, very long story short, and I will be concise, and I'll package this into something that is much more digestible. However, about 18 months ago, I visited a dentist. This is when I was just giving up smoking, or just trying to give up smoking seriously. I actually wanted to give up smoking, and the dentist said, "You've got that much staining on your teeth that I'm going to have to do half of it now and half of it later." And this is under the influence of gas and air as well, laughing gas, and like to the point where you've got no. And I was properly like, and the dentist was saying, "Can you stop deep breathing?" And I'm just like, "No," and I tried to hide it. So I was deep. So I was. Can
you stop breathing?
Well, no, they were saying like, because they knew that I was trying to get as much out of it as and I was saying, can you turn the mix up? And they were like, no, we can't turn it up anymore because it's getting into the realms of anesthesia. And then she told me off. She said, "Can you stop deep breathing?" And I was like, okay. So I carried on doing it, but really really subtly, or as subtle as I could do. And she said, "We're gonna have to clean your teeth in 2 stages because they're that stained that I can't do it in one go." And I was just like, "Well, how bad is it?" And she got a mirror, and she gave me a mirror, and so I looked at because I'd never had the reason to do this. It would be quite easy to do. What you do is you just get a small cosmetic mirror that women use to check their makeup, a really small circular one, and you place it in your mouth, and then you stand in front of a mirror, and then just look at the back of your teeth. Anyway, they were fucking brown, and I don't mean brown. They were almost like blacky brown, and I was just like, me personally, I shower every day, mostly, or at least when I can, 2 times a day, every day for years on end, as long as I've been aware of my own self-cleanliness. Since I've been a young teenager, I like to be sweat-free, odor-free, everything. I'm quite a clean, tidy person. You should see my apartment. It's mostly, unless there's been a long period of time where I haven't had the chance, it's mostly absolutely spotless. I was fucking disgusted that a part of my body that I hadn't been able to check on. This was only down to basically using nicotine and smoking, and I was disgusted in myself. The back of my teeth, and fortunately now they've all been cleaned off, and I do not smoke anymore, or maybe I have a cigarette every month, or I do not regularly buy products that will do that to me again. And I was absolutely disgusted myself. And that was one of the main things, as well as the smell, and as well as the coughing, and the fact that I was spending quite a lot of money on tobacco products. That was one of the instrumental things that made me say, enough is enough. This is fucking dirty. It is slowly. Not only is it slowly poisoning yourself, it is whether you like it or not. It's a form of self-abuse, self-harming, and it might be in small doses and only very, very slowly, at one little bits at a time. It all adds up. It is dirty, disgusting abuse to yourself.
Just imagine if you could see the inside of your body. Like, imagine if smoking, like, what it's doing negatively to you. If you could see that on your face, like
it's hot too. It's like hot smoke in places where it shouldn't be hot and smoky. You know, that's why when I heard about urine therapy, and then I heard that it's the most antiseptic, antibacterial, personally custom made for your body thing there is, except for the smell. It's like, thanks God, you got it all except that. You know, the taste.
Well, you
Which
know,
isn't
if
that bad.
you drink a lot of water, your piss doesn't really stink. But
That is true. I got to that stage once, but it's really hard to maintain it. It's because, I mean, dieting is expensive, and I've since I've gotten a dog a year ago, I stopped drinking milk. I haven't 100%
what's that
become.
have to do with the dog? I'm just curious.
It was the abuse. It was a video that I saw of
Oh.
some guy, just the things they do to these cows. And cows are really intelligent animals that have never even like gotten a chance to like,
And they
don't
become
animals.
Yeah, they don't always look after when they are putting them through the milking process. They don't always look after and follow the strict because a lot of the dairy farmers have got so many cows that they can't always keep track of the cycles. So a lot of them get infections, and the others get all. Mate, it's fucking just, it's awful.
It's the steroids and shit. The cows can barely walk anymore because they're just loaded up with muscles and. You know, and when I saw this, it came to me right away. With this girl was talking about the really cute girl who does a lot of like vegan videos on YouTube, but it was dogs produce milk for the puppies, snakes produce snake milk, rats produce rat milk. Cows produce human milk.
Wait a minute.
And I was
Snakes
like,
produce
what?
snake milk? You sure about that?
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. You are not a calf.
Exactly, and that's what it's for. I mean, just look at that one dude, that doctor who came out, and he's got a little video that he's like, what he's talking like this. He's like, he's whispering practically. He's like, what it's for, milk, is for the calf to become a big. What do they call it? A grown cow, like a fat to fatten up a cow so it becomes an adult cow that's fattened up. That's all it's for. People have no place drinking milk, and you know when I had heard the word pus involved in it, and then I remembered those times where sometimes you're drinking milk and you get that weird viscosity change.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden there's like a slime factor. Yeah. And I once I drank.
You're right.
I made cereal in the dark, and the milk was rotten. And I took one scoop. I was like, "All right, cereal, 4 a.m." Oh, I was like, "Oh, it's just all over the window." It didn't even hit the sink. I was like, "Blah! Holy shit! That's oh my god, that's so bad." Huh, fuck, wrong. That's not right. That's the worst. Holy shit. But the video that I saw, I made the mistake of watching that video, Earthling, narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, I think, where it just goes over all the animal abuses and like, you know, the dolphins that get it and the fish that get it. And then not only that, but the gratuitous torture. Where the one shot that just leveled me was some fucking bumpkin piece of shit. And no offense if you're
beating the shit
from the
out
south.
of pigs.
He took a pig. He took a baby pig by the hind legs over his head, and slammed it on the ground. And I was just like, oh my god, you know, these people are gonna get it one day. They're gonna get it. And I've come to blows twice now with people that leave dogs in cars on hot days or cold days. One guy came to like a shoving match, but it was right outside of a hardware store, and I knew the owner of the place, so he was just egging me on, like, what you can do about it? What you can do about it? He's this really nasty hoarding guy who had a car full of garbage and like papers and bags and shit, and he had a puppy chihuahua on the seat. And it just escalated from there, and I like threw him up against a door, and all this shit fell off the wall, and the owner of the store was like, "Get out of here, take it outside," and that was that. And then another time, some guy was in a diner, and he had a large, this was like a medium to large size mutt dog, in the back seat of a really dirty Chrysler 300 with the doors unlocked, and it was a white car, and it was just real dirty. It had streaks, brown streaks all down the side, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm looking at my girlfriend like, I'm taking that dog. And she's like, you better not take that dog. I'm like, I'm taking it. The door's open, and the dog was just like not doing anything, super submissive in the back seat, like, you know, just scared. You know, most dogs would bark, but this dog, I could tell something wasn't right. And if you've ever been to an animal shelter,
Yeah.
you see the like what the end product of that looks like, which will break your heart in a second when you see a dog, you know, help you with its it'll like give its side to you, like, okay, I guess it's kicked my ass time. Well, you know, let me make it easier for you. Like, lean over and here you go. And after volunteering for the past 5 years, which is actually what my girlfriend got me into, once a week at a dog shelter, you see what the end product is, and it's just devastating. So when I see it like halfway there and I could do something about it, I have no qualms about smashing a window to get a dog out.
No, well,
or
good.
Anything like that.
First of all, good for you for even bothering to you know, to use your time absolutely, you know, effectively and
Nothing more rewarding than that, you know.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I don't know about
these
you.
dogs.
I'm guessing you're in your early 30s. I know Ace is like the same age as me because we've already had this conversation. I'm 33.
I'm older than you guys. I don't act
Only
like
maybe,
it,
yeah, whatever. But
late 30s.
Yeah, similar age. But
Right.
not that you don't care about it as much when you're younger. However, when you get older, last year my dog passed away because of his age. He was actually 16 and a half.
Wow, what kind of dog was he?
He was a crossbreed. He was a lurcher cross collie. So he had the kind of build and body of, not quite, but of a greyhound lurcher, but he had the intelligence and communication skills of a collie.
A lurcher. I've never heard that before.
A lurcher is basically the size in between a whippet and a greyhound. So,
okay.
About the height of a Labrador.
Like 2.5 feet.
Yeah, about the back edge, the spine height of a Labrador, but with the build of a greyhound, but
yeah.
not quite as slight and not quite as miniature as a whippet.
I used to have a greyhound. I love them.
But
greyhound's a great dog.
Mm-hmm.
Strong dog.
I don't know about you guys. I mean, I obviously I've always cared about the welfare of something like an animal, especially when they're domesticated, because they're kind of helpless in certain ways because they're not wild and they can't look after themselves. They rely on humans, which also puts them in a vulnerability status because they are very dependent on you completely doing right by them. But once you, for me anyway, once you get into an age where, I don't know, you can do something about somebody else's treatment towards them, especially if it was involving, you know, an animal that was in an obvious circumstance as being not treated the way that it was, and you're a fully grown male, and I would literally want to do, and I would put my welfare on the line in order to, you know, if someone's going to argue with me, I'll just say, like, you know, this is wrong, what you're doing here, and I will make a spectacle of myself, and I will stand and fight on the street if necessary, if I see it happening. But the point I was getting to was that basically it's
you're willing to go the distance if it need be, is what you're saying.
If it need be, yeah. And I just think that when you're younger, you kind of you're not as compassionate about things because things are going so fast. And but when you get older, you have time to think about things, and I don't know whether your heart grows fonder towards defenseless beings or anything. Or whether
to me, it's the fact that they come back. You know, they always come back, dogs. Even if you treat them like shit, they'll come back, and they're so loyal and unconditional that way. And when I see people abuse that, because that's the one thing, that's what I believe, that's the reason why we have dogs. You know, there could be wolves and wolf packs in the wild as part of the food chain or nature, but why we have dogs, that's kind of a mystery. The reason why, my reason is to show us what unconditional love looks like. You know,
absolutely,
when done right, and that's what it looks like.
The thing is as well, like when I was working crazy shit hours, and my mother and stepfather would help me look after, because obviously, you know, you can only really leave a dog for so many hours before you know, he needs to go out or he needs to be fed. And when I was in search of earning as much money as I possibly could, I'm not like that anymore, but I was a few years ago. And my parents would help me, and they shared the ownership and responsibility at crucial times. And I really, really, really looked after that dog. And that's why he lived to 16 and a half years old. In his later years, unfortunately, he became a little bit incontinent and incapable in certain circumstances. And when you don't exercise and walk a dog, especially when they get into the later years in life, they go downhill very quickly. So the best thing you can do is keep them as active as possible, within their limits, without obviously straining them and hurting them, as much as you can.
That's the thing. Dogs hide pain really well. That's one of the things you got to keep a keen eye on. Luckily, I have a Bichon, and Bichons are known for health. Like, they're really resilient dogs because of the way they're shaped. Their shape is really stout, only about 12 to 15 pounds. 15 pounds would be a big one, but the way they're positioned, like their hind legs are a little bit higher than their front legs, so they're like little tanks, like pickup trucks of dog. And I've already seen him tumble a few times. He didn't even know. I hit his head against the doorknob by accident, and I was like, oh. It was like boom.
They do.
I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. He was like, what?
There's some clear signs though, and I had to learn these. I had to learn these clear signs because I wanted to know, because there comes a point. What I'm trying to get towards is there comes a point where you have to make a decision whether their quality of life is that low that it's cruel to keep them alive. Now, some people value that against how much effort it's taken and how much extra inconvenience it is to their own lives. I never did that. I've set that aside.
If it comes down to financial reasons, I'll just keep spending and spending and spending.
Yeah,
but
me
if
too.
The dog's in a state of pain,
yes, I agree.
And you know it. You know it in their eyes.
Yeah, you do. And I knew this dog. I knew him since he was 6.5 years old. So I knew him for a good 10 years, like every day, and I mean every day. And there's some clear signs as well when they start panting and sweating, when they've got no reason at all. It is a sign of their suffering pain. Also, another reason is when they're off their food and they're not paying attention to things. Like, that is another sign of maybe rheumatic arthritis or something like that. But the most clear one would be when a dog is in pain and they're not like physically yelping as they're being hurt straight away, is when they pant and sweat from the tongue, as in open their mouth and pant, and it's, you know, that is a clear sign. And it only came down to the last day, and he probably wouldn't have lasted the duration of the next 24 hours, and that's the day that you know, that I took him to the vets and I said goodbye to him, which was very, very difficult, because it was a relationship that I'd formed, and he was like I know this might sound silly, but it was like my brother, because I shared, especially towards the later days of his life, I shared ownership with him with my mother and stepfather, because you know, at the time I'm not in a relationship where like a marriage or a relationship with a partner that would be any other. So it was like letting go and leaving a brother. But also what really, really, really pissed me off was other people interfering, like the last maybe few months of his life, where my mother was out with him on his own, and people would come up to her and say, you know, people like you shouldn't have dogs, because they saw an old dog and they thought, they assumed and thought, and in their judgment, that it was cruel that we were keeping him alive. Now, this is nothing, they didn't see the other side of it, where he would spend 90, maybe even more, a percentage of the time happy, being, you know, on the bed and not in pain, clearly not suffering, and everything I've told you about him, not panting, clearly not showing any signs of suffering, and he was still kind of mentally compos mentis, because he was a very intelligent dog, may I add, as in we could communicate with him and he would know, and, you know, certain things.
Yeah, that's just the stupidity of other people. You know, the old truism: people are hell.
If
hell
I'd been
is
with
other people.
If I'd been with my mother the day that person, because that really, really deeply upset my mother. My mother was saying to me, "Look, you know, Chris, is it time for him to go?" And I said, "Mum, no, it's not. He's still got a quality of life here. He still enjoys our company every day. The vast majority of his life at the moment, I know that he is getting incontinent. I know that things are coming towards that day. However, that when that day comes, we'll know, and we'll know that he's ready to go, because he won't
want to get up. He'll be like, nah, I'm not gonna go for a walk.
Exactly,
I'm not into it.
And that was the day. Exactly.
No ball, no like fetch.
He wouldn't even get up, man. And that was the day. Literally that day, within hours of that happening, and it was literally down to the hours. You know, he was euthanized. We took him to the vets, and he was, you know, he was euthanized. If I'd been with my mother that day, and getting back to, you know, I don't know what I've done, because people interfering in that circumstance when they know little of or nothing, or they don't have the experience of that situation. I don't know. I just probably would have slapped the person absolutely silly. I don't mean like, you know, I'm not a violent person. I'm not an aggressive, violent person.
Well, check this out. Down the street. Oh no, I believe you. I believe you. There's no question about that. I can hear it in your voice. Down the street from me, about 5 houses down, there's a small house that has a white little picket fence around the backyard, and their dog is a yellow lab, fairly large dog. It looks like an older dog. It's always outside. And at first I was like, oh man, it's fucking 4 a.m. That dog is outside and it's kind of drizzling. Now, either they know the dog's outside and they're not doing anything about it, or there's a open, like a doggy door, where the dog is voluntarily going outside, and the dog's making the choice to go outside. And one thing somebody taught me was like, dogs don't always make the right decisions. You know, they don't always do the right thing. So that's when humans come into play. And when it was snowing, the dog was outside, just completely like stone-faced, staring right, like at me and my dog as I'm walking by, and my dog's starting to make the yelping sounds, like, you know, he's seeing something there, like something's not right here, because he's like crying for the dog. And I've heard from my neighbors that they've made attempts at talking to these people and nothing's come about. And you got to like know your place. Unless I see physical danger, then I'll act. But I really gotta I gotta like stay within my own boundaries where I can't interfere with what I could get it all wrong. You know, I could be completely mistaken about the situation. The dog could voluntarily want to sit outside by itself in the weather.
It's a delicate situation that you would have to really know the full story before you got really involved. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I've gone to my front neighbor, and people are always so scared about, like, well, you don't want to say something to the neighbor, to the people across the street or something like that, because they're always going to be there. So if there's an altercation, they're going to, the awkwardness will sit. And I just tell my girlfriend, I don't care. Let it be there. But if that dog is barking for another 10 minutes, something's not right. It's cold out and the dog shouldn't be outside. So I've gone over there plenty of times this is a different house. This is right across the street from me. And said to her, why is your dog barking? And the woman literally told me, she's like, no, the dog's inside. The dog's inside. And I looked at her like, you're crazy.
Guys, I'm trolling the ISS chat right now. They have it listed under Flat Earth. Sorry to catch up, but there's like 700 people watching. Nothing.
The thing that really got me the most, and I'm not trying to bring it back to my story or anything, and I would like to discuss this with you further. The thing that really got me the most is my mother's like 58 years old, and it was a delicate situation to begin with, but having somebody come up to her and say to her, people like, and this are the exact words, and when she said it back to me, it really upset me because she had to deal with it, and I wasn't there at the time either. And I'm kind of in a way glad. People like you shouldn't have animals, or people like you shouldn't have dogs. And I'm just thinking, this dog, this member of our family, Loki, our friend, our companion, he's 16 and a half years old. Have you not even got the gumption, the intelligence, the
where do you live, Chris? Like where? What?
West Yorkshire in England.
Okay, I have friends from Oxford.
That's That's kind of down south. I'm like in the north, but quite in the middle of the country, but in the north.
Were you big into like the shoegaze scene of the early '90s? Of like Swerve Driver, Ride, Slow Dive.
That's a little bit Portishead, yeah, but they're
Boo Radleys.
Boo Radleys, yeah. Portishead are actually from Portishead. That's a little bit before my time, although I was into music in that era, the 90s and stuff. But I didn't really fully have the
Charlatans UK, Oasis.
Yeah,
Primal Scream.
Yeah, that's more my era. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Oasis kind of moved up. Yeah, probably like 96, 97.
Yeah, I got into music when I was, say, 13, 14, so that would have been around about 1995, 1996. So
those are the best. Those are the best years.
That kind of area of music, but I welcome you changing the subject, but because I don't want to harp on about this for too much longer before it gets stale and ridiculous. But it was it was just a shame that that people don't have the intelligence to differentiate between when there is real abuse going on of animals and when people are going out of their way to look after animals until, you know, that they're at the end of their life, you know, because most dogs don't live past, say, 10, 11, 12, never mind 16 and
look
a
at
half.
it this way. Look at it this way. When I see all this, like online, when I see the Jesuits did this, the Jews did this, and all this bullshit.
People did it.
And like NASA, because there's never a face to all these people that are quote unquote they.
Yeah.
And the they, to me, consists of the people like you were just referring to, the people who don't hold the door for you. These are common people because we all want to get at them. You know, we all want to get at these people for keeping the truth behind closed doors. And you know, who are these people that duped us all these years? You know, who are these Illuminati people? They're not like special. They're not any. I just can't stand it when people give these people credit or too much power, and or just put them on a different level as if they're as if they're not normal, regular people like us, but they're just in a bad way, and their brains are in the wrong direction. But that's where I categorize people like that you were just referring to. You know, there is a way to stop this whole deception, you know, because it's everywhere. The people that are at the top, the elite, so to speak, there are going to be people replacing the ones that are going to die off. Whether or not David Rockefeller ever dies, time will tell. But there's going to be the next in the ranks filling in their footsteps. And look at the American government. It's just, the White House is filled, or the U.S. government's filled with lackeys that are ready to take the place. They're ready to be just as much of a piece of shit as their mentor, who taught them how to be an asshole and a piece of shit. The Rahm Emanuels and the John Boners.
I completely get what you're saying, and I completely agree. It's a generational thing that people need to be bred out of.
I didn't even want to talk about that. I was actually wanted to ask you guys, why were you guys talking about hi-fi stereo equipment before?
I used to work for a guy that was a world-class audio acoustic engineer, and I'm really into listening to high-quality music. You know, these are real Beats Pro. Like, these are, you could buy a better pair, but I don't.
Do they have a flat frequency response? Unlike Bose, which scoops out the mid-range of everything.
There is no preamplifier, so it'll only produce the signal that it's received in the first place. So yeah, it is flat, and I've tested them against other headphones, and there's no kind of it just what goes to the internal speakers is balanced as well. Is the signal that it receives. So there's no batteries, there's no internal amplifier. It is right. Flat. And
no active,
there's no other. It just receives the signal, and then the signal goes to the two speakers that are balanced within.
My favorite speakers growing up were Bowers and Wilkins, actually British brand.
Yeah, very famous.
B&W.
Yeah, B&W are very, very famous, very, very well regarded. Perhaps not the best. There is better than that. I would say Tannoy. I
was just about to say Tannoy. Yeah. I went to school of audio engineering, SAE, in Manhattan, back in like 2000. So I started out playing bass, and then I moved to drums after a kid gave me his drum set, and I set it up in my basement. Then I got a 4-track recorder, a Tascam 424 MK2. And I just started recording everything. I had a dynamic mic, and I would just aim it at shit. I remember recording the vacuum cleaner. We had a central vac in the house, so I would record that for like 15, 20 minutes.
Do you know what?
and then record like an oscillating fan.
Do you know what the English? Do you know what the English call vacuum cleaners? They don't even. They've even. It's been surpassed by a brand. They call them Hoovers. Honestly, the most common name for a vacuum. They don't even use vacuum cleaner anymore. They just call them Hoovers, and it is getting bred out of them. But it was such a strong brand name that it is stuck for like at least my lifetime. They just call them Hoovers, and even now, like they don't.
I never understood aluminium.
Yeah, aluminium.
Aluminium requires a lot more letter.
Aluminium. Yeah, it's got an extra I, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's why I was like, that doesn't work.
Syllables, yeah.
It flows nicely, but
it's got an I in front of the last U. Aluminium. There's no I.
An extra 2 syllables for no reason. But in the same breath, English people can't understand why you would shorten it down to aluminum. It just sounds silly to them. Like,
Americans were told that British people have bad teeth because there's no fluoride in the water.
No,
you believe that?
They just don't get good dental care.
I know, but that's what like people were told in this country.
Yeah, fuck that.
And that we had better teeth because of fluoride. And just you were mentioning showers before. I've heard from a lot of people now that the way to shower in the situation we have with this contaminated poisoned water is to get in, get out, shower once a day. You know, if that. I mean, if you're dirty, obviously you got to take care of that. But if you're someone who works in an office or whatever, doesn't sweat or whatever. But even if you do sweat, well, no, sweating's different because that's how the body gets rid of toxins. Urine is not toxic. It's not waste product. Shit's waste, obviously. It comes out of your breath, your skin, transdermally, through respiratorily, and
what does fluoride?
Waste.
Oh yeah,
toxins. That's how the body gets rid of shit.
Especially beer. It's like lager or beer. You know, let me just quickly interject. I was stood in front of the check-in desk on the way. I've just come back off vacation. I've been in Greece on one of the Greek islands for 2 weeks. First vacation I've had in, well, proper vacation I've had in a long time, like 10 years or so. And there was a dad, and he had his family with him. I think there was like a son that was at least 12, 13 years old, and then his daughter and his wife and stuff. And he obviously suffered the old male pattern baldness thing that I do. But he shaved his head, and he was stood right in front of me, and he was like, he was the dad, you know, he had all of the suitcases, he was in charge and everything. And there was this little crease, you know, and you know when fat bald men put on weight, and when you stood behind them, this like little shelf.
A pack of Franks.
The shelf forms like this crease of skin that is like a little tubular ripple.
Yeah, it's a pack of hot dogs.
But he must have had like either the night before or he hadn't had any, because unfortunately, which is true, and I admit to it. I'm not completely English. I'm actually more English Irish and then half Greek as well. However, when English people are on holiday, especially hot countries, they tend to drink. And sometimes
I'm Irish, Italian, Greek, and English.
Really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Yeah. Well, my mother's father. So my grandfather from my mother's side is English Irish, and then my biological father, as in my father, he's Greek Cypriot. So I'm a bit of a mix. So it's not too dissimilar to yourself, apart from the Italian influence. But yeah, when the English on holiday, they tend to drink not just during the evenings, but sometimes like in the late afternoon. And I could see the beads of sweat coming, and he wasn't doing anything. He was stood in a queue waiting to check, and it was just like, not I couldn't actually physically smell it, but I nearly could kind of smell it. It was just like the toxins coming out of him, and he could have shaved his hair as short as possible, and his t-shirt was starting to stain through, and it was getting thicker, especially around the back and you know the spots of where the sweat forms, and it was really disgusting. It was obviously the toxins coming out, but it was like visibly obvious, and I was just thinking, fucking hell, I'm glad I'm not you. I really do, really, I'm absolutely glad. But yeah, sorry to interrupt what you were saying a minute ago. Carry on.
You know, have you heard Dave Murphy? He said that, you know, this is not.
Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about growing. He grew his hair back. You know the concept, and I'm not saying anything about
to be an antenna. You mean?
Well, the idea is if you can't get to a body, if you can't get to an area of your body from the outside. I'm sorry, from the inside, get it from the outside. So the hair follicles are not receiving something from the, basically,
yeah,
they're stopping somewhere in the layer of the skin. There's some kind of blockage there. So you
under that hat, are you balding under that hat?
No, I'm not.
No, okay, right. Can I categorically state to you that I am like, if you look, see, I've got hair there, but it's I have been progressively balding since I was 20 years old. It started happening. My hair started falling out noticeably at the age of 20.
You do understand it's not supposed to happen. Like not all the maladies and all the afflictions that we have as people, I believe, aren't supposed to happen. All the diseases are man-made. In nature, these things don't exist. They just don't exist.
I agree. I agree.
The urine factor is literally the fountain of youth. If you want your hair back, there is a way of doing it. If you lost a limb, there's a way of getting it back. The body knows how to regrow itself, because think about it.
He's growing you mean he was bald and now it's growing back? Or he decided
Dave Murphy lost his hair. He lost his hair.
Okay.
He had pattern baldness, and he basically soaked a rag, like one of those, like a turban. And before he went to bed, he would, I guess, put a shower cap on, or he would take like a rag that was soaked in his urine. Aged urine, though. Aged urine is the stuff that's when you pee and you leave it and you collect it, like over the course of a week or something like that. It's really, really, really fucking strong. Like you gotta put a cork in the top so it can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I tried this once and I did it the wrong way. I kept the lid on it and it started to form almost like its own skin.
What was this though that you put under the cork? What? I missed that part.
If you're gonna keep a container of aged urine, like in other words, you take, it smells really bad, but you know, if you look at it's a small price to pay if you're someone who's lost your hair. And basically you make a wrap before you go to bed. You take the shower cap, put it on, and let it soak for a couple of hours or whatever while you're sleeping, and do it again. And this isn't like an overnight thing. From what I've understood, some people, it could be a couple of weeks, and you will
some time and effort, yeah.
But it doesn't take years. It doesn't, maybe 6 months, and you will start to see your body beginning to regrow. Its hair follicles will start regrowing again and producing hair.
The only thing that I would say in contrast to what you're saying, or into a difference, somebody has been experiencing hair loss for over 10 years now. What happens is once the follicle is dead, as in the bit of skin that produces a hair, once that is
they're pores. They're pores.
Yeah, sorry, the pores. Yeah, the pores. It tends to just
holes, actually.
Yeah,
holes.
the skin on your head. I mean, there is still a few pores that do produce like the odd, but
They're
it's
there.
still,
They're
they
there,
are
but
there, but it's like nothing.
skin has covered it up.
It's nothing like it was. And the texture, the care of your skin actually changes, and you feel the difference. It almost turns like into more of your face, for want of better words. It's almost like it turns into, the only way I can liken it really is it's like the skin on your nose. And that's what it turns into. It is more oily. Like when you brush it, you get like the oiliness of it. It basically turns like from a hair growing skin to something like what would be on your nose.
Well, look at a baby. Look at a baby. Babies don't have hair follicles, and then they grow.
Yeah,
we're producing through like, and I mean, although Dave says that he did a 60-day urine fast, which is probably, if you were going to do this, Chris, you would have to most likely go through the fasting aspect of it, which is nothing but good for you, because fasting in any way is good for you, because the body says, oh, fuck, thank you, get that shit out of here. We got to go into like repair mode and start fixing everything. And when you start bringing the urine back into your system, it's basically just like you got to push everything you've thought about and all like the yuck factor, all that shit to the side. Think of it as blood, because people don't think blood is gross. Like, oh, I'm gonna get a blood transfusion. That's not gross, but that's a liquid from your body that you don't see every day. Like if you peed blood, you'd be like, fuck, I need that. Somebody give me a container or something. I think I need this. Urine's the same thing. It's just we can go without it, and it's just extra. But when you're in a situation where your body is in pain, or you've gotten burned or cut, any type of sting, bite, animal bite, your brain registers this, and it prints out in the form of liquid the antidote to it, the antibodies, the antigens. Then you pee it out and you put it back into your body, and then it goes and fixes it. But if you don't put it back in, it can't do it. So you're just left to the element.
Are you honestly saying to me, if I piss on my head, my hair will grow back?
Yes. From what I've understood, I can't speak from experience because I haven't done that. What I did is I have nerve compression on my feet. I've been on concrete for so long, and concrete doesn't give, obviously, like a wood floor would. So a wood floor at least allows a little bit of movement for the nerve endings, but over time, the nerve endings start to compress, and then they don't die, but they go numb. And I was in the shower one day, and I took the head off the hook, and I was shooting the soles of my feet with the shower head with the spray, and I was like, "Fuck! I can't feel it in the middle of my heel." It was understandably callous because like my hand, but it freaked me out a bit because I've heard of so many stories of people getting their legs chopped off and like diabetics and amputating and stuff like that whenever you go numb. And I was like really worried, and I understood in the back of my head that that's not going to happen, but the fact that I could only feel it around the perimeter of my heel and like the sole of my foot, and I couldn't feel at all in the middle. So what I did was I peed into a Tupperware container, like an 8x10, like a casserole container. And every morning for about 5 minutes, I just put my feet in it and wiggled my toes around for five or 10 minutes, got out, went into the shower, and that was that. And within 15 minutes of the first time, the skin turned pink. And I was like, no, you got to be kidding me. I was like, that fast? Holy shit. It like the skin takes it in like that. And the other thing was I hate blackheads. That's one thing that really grosses me out. Like high school, I went to all boys high school, so every guy had pimples and shit. And I hated that shit too. But blackheads to me are just the nastiest because they're like, it's like hair pus. and you can't avoid it.
Dirty
It's
hair
just-
plugs.
And I've seen a few videos. I think it was Jackass, where the guy was popping a zit, and it was like a spaghetti shot out.
Oh,
It was all like, I was like, oh.
they
And-
have some good compilations on YouTube.
And
yeah.
one thing I did notice though, after taking, you got to take a sterile pad, and while your urine is still warm, and the morning urine is the best because it's like your body's been producing it over the course of sleeping. Basically, it's got to be after 3 a.m. While it's still warm, take it in a sterile pad, and it feels like warm salt water because it has this, it'll hit your lip and like be like, that's tastes like the ocean. And I put it on my nose and on my skin just to see what it would do, and it turned whatever like little blackhead things that were on my nose, it turned them clear. So they were like, you know, any type of like little blackhead hair, they went from like black to clear. It was really neat. See if it's still like that. I can't really see it now, but it's amazing. It's amazing how this shit works. And one thing is I don't even have to prove it to anyone. If you take about an inch of at the bottom of a pint glass, an inch is plenty. Swig it down, or they say some people say to sip it, and just shoot it down. You know, don't be a I forgot what Murphy says, something like that. He's like,
don't be a wuss.
Don't be a wuss. Yeah, he's just like, shoot it down. And if
I
you
tried
can't,
it.
If
Honestly,
you can't take it, hold your nose.
Yeah, I know.
And you won't taste it, or hold your breath, and you
Can
won't
you
taste
not? Can you not water it down? Can you not mix it with something else?
it. You can mix it. Like right now,
not?
I'm drinking mango juice.
The last time I tried it with my morning piss, with the saved up piss, because obviously, you know, I've heard about this. That is the best.
Don't drink the saved piss though. The aged urine.
I tried to do it, and as soon as it hit my esophagus, it just all came back up, and I was just like, I was sick. I was retching, and
well, if that's probably too much for you, then take like a quarter of an inch. To tell you the truth, if you took a dropper from one of the e-juice bottles and put 4 or 5 drops under your tongue sublingually, because that's the only area of the body where your arteries are exposed, is underneath the tongue. Put 4 or 5 drops. It'll work. You'll still get something. You'll get energy out of it, that's for sure, because you can't drink urine after 7 p.m. or you will stay up. That I know for a fact. And I was at work the other day and I was like, fuck, you know, I don't think I've had any of me in the past few days. So I stuck my finger in my stream and I was like, all right, I feel better now. But you can mix it in with pear juice and the taste will go away. Because at first, dude, I was vodka? Like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, vodka's
pretty
drinking piss.
Nasty. It's nasty. Yeah. Even good vodka is pretty nasty.
Well,
but piss tastes gross.
Have you ever had Stolichnaya? Stolichnaya? That is so smooth.
Stoli, yeah.
The only good vodka I've ever had was potato vodka that was Polish.
Yeah, Luxusova. That's what it's called.
Dude, I've been
Guaranteed.
been trying to think for 2 years now.
It is the best vodka.
That's the one I used to live in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It's all Polish.
Yeah.
The whole entire neighborhood.
Nothing fancy about the bottle at all. It's got a squarish look to it. Yeah, it tastes like a cloud, like a sweet. You could drink it straight and warm. And
I've been online trying to figure out what the hell it is.
What's
it called? It's not expensive. That's the thing. It's not even expensive.
Yeah. Yep. Not even.
What's
it
up?
Doesn't cost much.
What's it called, Ace?
Luxusova.
Yeah, Luxasova.
What's the label? Is it a red and white label, or am I thinking?
No,
I
think it's blue.
Just blue or silver. It's a very basic label going up and down the bottle.
But it's a potato vodka.
It's like 5 times or 7 times distilled potato vodka, and it makes such a difference. It doesn't have that rubbing alcohol kind of taste to it.
Yeah.
It by far it's the best vodka. I still don't really like I wouldn't sip a glass of vodka, if you know what I mean.
I never understood anyone who could sip any alcohol.
Well,
like maybe
Scotch.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I was a beer drinker back when I was when I was an alcoholic. do you drink?
Me, every once in a while have a double IPA. I like IPAs. So I'll have like 2 and be pretty freaking lit.
So you like ales? You like bitter?
Yeah,
bitter beer?
Indian Pale Ale. Yeah. Not all bitter beer. It's got to be good. The beer I usually get, they only sell them in 4-packs, and they're like as much as a fucking 12-pack of Budweiser. You know what I mean? But it'd take you 30 minutes to drink one, and an hour and a half to finish the second one. And by the time you finish that second one, you're good. You know what I mean? Like, I actually have a mini breathalyzer, a little keychain breathalyzer. Look, this thing.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah. I saw it at Best Buy. I was on sale for like $14. I was like, oh man, that's fucking awesome. I'm gonna go. So I was testing myself. Like one of the last times I drank, I had a bottle of Shiraz wine.
Oh, good stuff.
And yeah, and I was surprised I only blew a .06 after drinking it. So
Shiraz doesn't have that much alcohol, I don't think.
Well, it's 14, supposedly 14%. You know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Beer's like 3.
But see, a bottle of wine is deceptive. I don't really think there's that much liquid in it. You know what I mean?
There's anywhere between there's anywhere between 7 and 12 units in a bottle of wine.
I like white wine,
depending on the strength.
Yeah.
I like faggy wine, like Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, I like Pinot Noir.
Oh, is that like a strawberry dessert wine?
Oh my god! Anyway, so yeah. I drank the bottle of that, and it gave me a fucking hangover, a slight hangover the next day. So anyways, so I had 2 of these beers. I just found them recently. It's called Molotov Cocktail, made by Evil Twin Brewing. They are 13% each. Man, I had one and I'm like, holy shit. I just had a fucking beer. Are you fucking kidding me? By the second one, I was like sitting there pretty freaking set, you know what I mean? And I freaking blew a .07. And then 30 minutes later, I tried it again to see if it like went down. I was at a .08. I got to a .08 off of 2 beers.
What's the legal limit? Was it 1 point something?
No,
.08.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Soon alcohol replaces like the blood. That's the only thing you can die from. That's the only hangover. No, I'm sorry. That's the only withdrawal you can die from is alcohol.
And barbiturates and Xanax and yeah, they're all kind of the same though. But yeah, you can literally die.
I used to work for the NHS, and I had no idea what alcohol abuse could do to the human body until I worked for the NHS. And there was a particular ward. It was Ward 4, and anybody who had been severely abusing alcohol for a long period of time, especially if they were like withdrawing or coming off it, I mean like severe abuse, they would be put on to Ward 4. And one of our jobs, amongst many, was to kind of restrain them or stop them from acting extremely weird when they were coming
What is NHS?
National Health Service. National Health Service. It's like the government-funded version of the alternative to private healthcare in the UK. So it's like instead of private healthcare, you get the National Health Service, which is like the government-funded version of healthcare within the UK. And man, fucking hell, I had no idea what it was like. Like people had been literally abusing alcohol for months on end or weeks on end, or tried to kill themselves through drinking themselves.
They drink it like water. They drink shit like Laird's.
But they were like fucking tripping, man. I mean, like they didn't even know where, and they pumped them full of lithium. In fact,
oh my god, lithium. I fell asleep with my eyes open on lithium.
Why were you on lithium, bro?
My friend had it.
A cannula.
I was like, sure.
Huh?
They put a cannula in, and they're just pulling the cannula out of their intravenous drip, basically. And they're just pulling it out, and we're trying to stop them from doing that. And that's what is intravenously putting lithium into their system. So then we're having to hold them down whilst the doctor comes and then directly injects it into their system. And they're like saying, "Grandma, get off me!" And it is so. I had no idea how powerful the withdrawal of alcohol had on a person, like severe alcoholics.
Try heroin withdrawal.
So
I assumed
probably worse than that, man.
I assumed it was bad, but I had no idea. I had no idea how powerful it was. Especially the amounts that obviously these people were consuming on a daily basis, especially when they're coming off it.
I went a good 5 years with maybe 1, maybe 2 weekends without drinking, and I wasn't like I was a functioning.
Wait, was this 7 days a week drinking though, or just weekends?
Yeah, no, it was like 7
every
days,
day.
Every day,
like
every
wake
night.
and bake and everything.
No, it was only at night. Like at night,
Okay.
I would go home and watch a movie and like have a 6-pack. That sort of thing.
Yeah,
but I mean, every single day, and then on the weekends it was like a bottle of wine. A bottle of wine, then a 6-pack, and then call the Coke guy, and then go till Tuesday. And then Tuesday started closing in, and the week was like Wednesday. And I was like, well, hey, if we did it Tuesday, let's do it Wednesday. To the point where I was hanging out with the Coke guy.
The thing is as well, like, say if you're in that behavior, and your body is that used to the regular amounts of alcohol. If you ever like get ill, if you ever like have the flu or the cold, and then like you have a period, I'm just going to get myself straight. You're not only you're fighting the flu, but then abstaining from that regular alcohol intake within your system. You're actually punishing your body more, and you wouldn't necessarily realize it unless you know what we know, and you're going to make it harder for your body to recover afterwards, because
I was indestructible back then, man. I could just, like, oh my god, the things I did to myself, holy shit. And it took heroin to get me off of everything, because all I had to do was spill the beans to my parents, because I was living away for quite a while, and then at one point I had to move back in because it was so expensive to live alone, and I was like, all right, let me transition. And I made the mistake of, once you've moved out of your folks' house, you never go back. And I did for a few years, and they were like suspecting something was up, like, why are your pupils that small all the time in the dark? And then,
what, you were doing heroin?
Well, I had a woman that worked where I worked. I worked for a backline rental company, and I was touring with bands, doing live sound pretty much. And the woman was the girlfriend of the owner of the company, and she was like the pill lady. She had Lortab, Xanax, Valium, and whenever she walked by, her bag like shook and made all this noise. So she was giving me a bunch every month, and that is very... Painkillers, that's the one drug that's so easy to fall into, because It makes you want to participate in society. And I used to tell people, I like liking things too much. I enjoy enjoying things way too much. And you can function really easily. There's no hangover or anything, except when painkillers turned into OxyContin. Oxycontinuous is what it's really called. And
it's the opiate based codeine ones that are the I know what you're saying.
Yeah, my cousin got super addicted to opiates. He was making poppy tea out of poppy plants. So basically like homemade heroin, you know.
Did he get clean?
Yeah.
I only had heroin.
Man.
I only did heroin for like maybe 2 months, and I didn't shoot it. I just snorted it.
Yeah.
But it took I realized that I couldn't keep it up because there's a thing that heroin addicts get. It's called the cackle, and the cackle is when you're laying down or sitting down, you can make your chest kind of like a.
What?
And it feels really good, like just the way it vibrates like that.
Yeah.
And you just sit and you fall into yourself, kind of like Train Spotting, the movie, when he does one of the best depictions of heroin. But
is that the bit where he lays backwards and then falls into the floor and
falls on the floor? Yeah.
He moves like backwards in reality, like through the floor.
It's such a perfect day.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, but you know, it's a depiction, I guess.
That was a really nice way of depicting it. But it got to the point where it wasn't sustainable, and I had to do something. And there was a writer for the New York Times who had dealt with who had been writing for the entertainment section. The guy's name is David Carr. And this was a guy who was a huge partier, and he got clean. So I sent him an email. He was a pretty well-known guy. It was pictures of him hanging out with Woody Harrelson and celebrities and stuff. And he wrote me back, and I had asked him, like, how did you do it? You know, what was it? And he was like, well, one day I just woke up and I felt like I didn't want to feel like this anymore. And then that was that. So I was like, well, maybe that's the way to do it. So I took all of what I had left, and this was after a night of waking up in the middle of the night, like, like people don't overdose on heroin. It's not the drugs that kill them. It's it's your respiratory system stops breathing for you. You basically stop, your body shuts down. So it's not the chemical aspect of it. It's just the relaxed, you know, your brain's like, you know, those lungs will figure it out somehow. And I woke up and I was like, kind of like when you're in the car and the guy in front of you stopped, and then you get it right 2 seconds early, and you're like, holy shit.
That free adrenaline rush.
Yeah, that was the feeling I had that night. And what did I do? Leaned over. This was in my parents' house too. And I got the rest of what I had, boom, went back to bed. Following day, I was like, I got to stop this. And I had read about Suboxone, that it was the new methadone. So it worked, and everyone's testimonials was that it worked.
Yeah,
I was like, I got to call.
Used it.
It does work, that's for sure.
Except the problem was his doctor. These doctors, they're not trying to get you clean. They're just trying to get you on something else. So they prescribe what would be considered mega doses, because you can't die on that shit. It's like only works.
It's like a partial. It's a partial agonist. So it's got some.
So dude, they had him on 3 8-milligram strips a day. He probably only needed 2 milligrams a day.
Yeah. Well, he probably needed 8. One strip. There's no need for more than one strip, because once it's gone. But that day I banged out like 3 little bundles. Well, not a bundle. A bundle is a bunch of little bags wrapped together. Okay. So I just dumped it all out, and I was like, Dad, I got a problem. And then it was like, it all fell. And he was like, okay. And I knew if I just said it out loud, it would be like the point of no return.
There you go.
And
That's good.
he knew about it, and I just blurted it out, and that was that. And then and they can't yell at you for that. And I always tell people, it's the one time I got my father to admit that he was wrong about something and to apologize. It took heroin abuse to get him to say something like, well, maybe there were things that I could have done. And I was like, what? I had to develop fucking heroin addiction for this? And after that, it was Suboxone. And that day, I was expecting the withdrawal. And I knew when it was coming on, because right about 7 hours, 8 hours afterwards, you start to get the worm inside of your chest. And it's like there's an itch that you can't get to because you can't get into your chest.
Could I just ask you a question? As well as the physical withdrawal, is there like a I'm not 100% sure, but I dare say you've guessed that I've definitely done drugs in the past. I still do from time to time, but I also used to as well. But as far as I know, I've never regularly taken heroin. I think I might have done at certain circumstances, but there's been some times where I've had days that I haven't been able to account for, especially when I was younger, in my early 20s, where anyway, that's another story. But what I'm asking you is, as well as the physical withdrawal, is there also like a psychological, mental withdrawal that encompasses and couples?
Nope, it was all physical.
Oh, okay.
It was all physical. It was all that agonizing, like, you just pray you can get 20 seconds of like just, I'm watching whatever's on the TV, Ball Earth, Morgan Freeman, black holes, supermassive black holes. This is in 2009, April 23rd, 2009.
Yeah. And then what happened after you told your dad or whatever?
Well, the 7-hour mark came, and I was like, there is no way one measly little pill is going to stop this tidal wave of agony. And 7 hours came around, and I was like, okay, all right, nothing. Holy shit, stuff works. And it was like that scene in Scrooged where Bill Murray's like, I'm alive, and he's like swinging Bobcat Goldthwait around. And for that month, it was like I couldn't wait to wake up the next day, because it was a combination of not being addicted and this buzz that you got from the Suboxone. And then that goes away, and when you take Suboxone, it just doesn't.
I didn't think you could really get high on that stuff. I've taken it before.
The first month,
recreationally, it didn't really do much of anything, honestly.
if you don't need it, you're not really going to get anything out of it, because there's not enough. It just binds to the opiate.
It was like a little bit of a mood, almost like a stimulant in a way. There was like a little bit of a well-being. There was definitely nothing like taking an opiate, though. Nothing at all.
To me, they were always stimulants.
Yeah, it's like a
Percocet, right. Roxicet, all those drugs. They were all like stimulants to me.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, I never understood the people nodding out like
that. I filmed myself.
Right. Yeah.
On Oxycontin, where my eyes were literally like one going to the left, one going to the right, falling back, and like I had to film myself to see it. But the thing with Suboxone is once you start taking it, you got to keep taking it until you can figure out a way to titrate yourself. And you're right, the doctors don't want.
Yeah,
not that they don't
want it down.
I think that there are good doctors that want to see you get better, because I guess they're financially secure. Boom.
Yeah.
But it's another form of methadone. So basically, it just replaces it, holds back the tidal wave. But if you can,
it or what?
I've been taking it for 7 years. I've been taking it for 7
how
years.
my cousin got off of everything was Imodium, the diarrhea medicine.
How so?
It completely,
What?
it can completely stop all withdrawals.
Well, he was probably getting the shits and the diarrhea from.
Well, yeah, because he got a new doctor and they cut him down from like 8 milligrams a day all the way down to 2 milligrams a day. So he didn't have enough to like sustain, you know what I mean? Because the other doctor, something happened to him. And the other lady's like, oh, you've been on it for 2 years. You need to be on a lower dose now, blah, blah, blah. And just like cut it. So he was having to take like 4 doses a day. And then he would always be running out. And he found out you can take Imodium to stop withdrawals in pretty high doses too. If you have a tolerance, like instead of taking 2, you might need to take, say, 30 or 40, right? And they last 24 hours.
Yeah, I know.
And he just would take 1 less a day. He started at like, say, 30 of them, and like once a week, he would just take 1 less.
How did he go to the bathroom?
Well, it's the same as any opiate. Once it fills the receptors in your gut, it can't overfill them. There's no more left. You know what I mean? So taking 2 or 30 isn't going to change if you're constipated or not. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if the Imodium AD does something to like the sphincter, I think it does something where
it is an opiate. It's just, it does not cross your blood-brain barrier, so you don't get a high off of it. So eventually you're getting...
Oh, it doesn't register by the brain. Brain doesn't register.
It doesn't cross over. If it did, it would be illegal. But it's actually the most powerful opiate known to man, believe it or not. That's why 2 of those little bitty pills can constipate your diarrhea. You know what I mean? Just like if you took a bunch of painkillers, it's going to make you not want to shit. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. So it fills the receptors in your body, like your legs and back and everywhere else in your gut, especially, but it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier and get you high. Although he has taken like 100 of them at a time to like catch a buzz. You know, I've seen him do it. But yeah, so after a while, your brain isn't getting that opiate anymore. So those receptors in your brain start to heal themselves. But your body, where the physical withdrawal is happening, it is getting that. So, and then you can slowly wean that off and you don't get those cravings.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And I knew another guy that was shooting 1 gram of heroin at a time, 3 times a day with an 8 milligram Dilaudid. Okay. And he got cured instantly from going to Mexico and doing Ibogaine treatment, which is a powerful psychedelic. Yeah. He swears by it. In fact, the last time I ever saw him, he was moving down to Mexico to work in a clinic voluntarily. Wow. He believed in it so much.
Ibogaine's intense from what I've heard. I'm dying to try it, DMT or the
I've got some DMT.
You got my address, right?
I am absolutely. I'd have to agree with both of you. I'm absolutely very, very, very curious. In order to, I think, I'm at the point in my life now where I given enough time beforehand to prepare myself physically, hydrate myself, make sure I'm safe. I would like to do it the more conventional way, although that does kind of put me off a little bit, going to South America and maybe it's getting taken for a ride. But I would love to try some very pure DMT in the right circumstances and see what happens. I think I'm ready to do it, more than ready. Not like eager as in like I want to, I can't wait, but I'm ready. As in,
how did you take it, Ace? What was your setting like? And you're muted, by the way.
Oh, I smoked it in my house.
So you were alone?
I met in jail. Yeah. And the thing is, before you've ever tried it, you're like, oh my God, it's going to be so intense, da da da. It's not like, okay, so like mushrooms, for instance, they actually affect the way you think. You know what I mean? Like it changes your consciousness. Well,
Yeah.
DMT, you have the exact same consciousness you have right now. You're fully awake consciousness. And there's something about it that it's like it takes you by the hand. It's like a more feminine type of experience. And
you into Terrence McKenna?
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have a bad trip on it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like 10 times more crazy than mushrooms, but it's beautiful. It's like there's nothing, I cannot imagine anybody having a bad experience.
Okay, I've done
that's what I mean.
Shitloads of psychedelics, and I'm well versed in every different type of, like, you know, this inner space, there's outer space, there's vegetation hallucination, then there's like the place you go when you connect with earth, when you go back into the soil, and then you mix with, like, you know, with large leaps, and like you feel like everything is like mechanical but natural, almost like organic machinery, if you know what I mean. Conveyor belts and like everything. But then there's like ayahuasca, which is like from what I've heard, a very maternal kind of hallucination or a frame of mind. Then there's DMT, which is more like about your conscious life. It accelerates, like, you don't go wacky or, like, you know,
it's almost like a lucid Hollywood dream. It's weird. It's almost like a lucid dream is what it feels like.
Have you ever done ketamine?
Oh yeah.
That was used to be my favorite.
K-hole.
That used to be my favorite thing
amazing
to do. I would do it alone.
Before I realized that it was a psychedelic, because I didn't even realize it was when I first had it. I always heard about K-holes and that they were like this bad thing.
I love them.
And then the guy that I would get it from, I would only see him like every 3 months, and he'd have 4-ACO DMT, which is this weird crystal that's, you eat it, and it's like a mushroom trip for 8 hours, but way better. It's like mixing the best ecstasy you've ever had with the best mushrooms you ever had at the same time, and it being in the middle of a great orgasm for 8 hours. It's like, it's undescribable how fucking badass. But yeah, the ketamine. So I only would ever do like a little bit at a time. And then finally I'm like, oh man, I want to fucking do a K-hole. Like, I didn't know it's a trip. Holy shit. And I read a thing about this guy living in this other world for 1,000 years. He said it felt like he was there for about 1,000 years when he came back, you know? I was like, I want to add 1,000 years to my life. That'd be cool.
Did you regard K as a trip, like as in LSD or mushrooms? Because I never did. I kind of looked at it as a mental high.
Yeah.
Because I cooked it and snorted it, like cooked it in the toaster oven, and then scraped it on the plate and made lines out of it.
The way that I was introduced to it was never as a psychedelic at all. It was more of
it's a tranquilizer.
Yeah, a barbiturate, a party drug.
It's a dissociative anesthetic.
and an end of a night drug, and it was actually
for subhuman primates.
And it was, that they use it. They still use it today in road traffic accidents in the UK. People who have
in zoos.
They still give it as an anesthesia if you have heart problems, because it doesn't depress your respiratory system. It was used on humans originally, and I don't know why they call it a horse tranquilizer.
It still is. One of the street names in the UK is they call it Wonky Donkey, which basically turns you into something that would be prescribed to a donkey, but makes everything wonky, as in like out of kilter, out of balance.
I remember I had a pint glass. I had a water, because I never drank on it. I always kept really like sterile and like, because it was a very white drug to me, white and clear. And I had a pint glass of water, and I'm holding it, and my hands felt like they were gigantic. And I'm looking into the glass as if I was at the edge of like a nuclear, you know, like those nuclear smokestacks, those big, those big ass cylindrical stacks in like a nuclear waste plant.
The cooling chimneys.
The cooling towers, yeah. That's what I felt. I was at the edge of one of those and looking down into like a swimming pool. And I was like, oh my God, there's the water. And I was going to put the glass, and I thought it was the size of like a 5-gallon bucket, like, and it was tiny. And I'll never forget holding my friend's hand. He was like, the room is so big right now. I was like, I feel like we're in an auditorium. We were in my friend's apartment. And I was like, your hand feels like paper. And it was all crunchy and shit. And sounds were great. It was so much fun. We turned into broken robots. That's what we kept on saying. I was like, why is everything broken? I was like, can you walk? I can't walk. It would take forever to get to the other side of the room. But that was fun shit. But on the DMT though,
the time thing, huh? Yeah.
Did you like you took it and then were you like lights on, just kind of chilling, like, okay, any minute now?
Yeah, dude. So the first time I had it, it came in a test tube. Okay. And so, like, I basically just stuck a straw in and started heating the bottom of the test tube with all this goop in the bottom of it, right? And I took one hit, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to take, like, 2 or 3 hits. Like, I started hitting it while I was standing up. And, like, as I went to blow the first hit out, I was like, oh, my God. I almost froze. I was like, I need to set this fucking piece of hot glass down. And the wall started turning into a freaking geometric pattern. I mean, it's like I was blasted into the peak of the most intense mushroom trip, like visually. I looked at my hand, it looked all green with spots and shit, you know what I mean? Like alien looking. And so I carefully went to go sit on my couch, and I like plopped down right like this. Hold on. I was like this, just like in this position, like I couldn't move. And so I keep looking. I was looking at the wall, and I was like, oh my God, dude. I started seeing the Tool album.
Oh,
It looked like a damn Tool album with the 2 skull things. And so I closed my eyes, and I'm seeing these geometric patterns with all these colors of the rainbow, like golds, like reds and greens. And then it started turning into like a wormhole, and I'm like going through this wormhole. Like,
okay, so at this point you're a spectator. You're watching shit turn into other shit, and then the doorway comes closer. So it's not cerebral yet. You're still like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay,
I didn't
keep going.
No, at that point when I started seeing the wormhole thing, I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking amazing. Like
were you participating in your own reality, or were you like observing it?
No,
I think that's what he's about to get to. I think that's
I was just watching it like a movie.
But it was your own reality, but you kind of were. I don't know. How would you describe it? Like, were you spectating in an experience you were experiencing at the time, or were you like out of your body?
No, I couldn't see my room anymore or anything. I had my eyes closed, and I was just.
Did you have any sense of your own physicalness?
Awareness.
Yeah. Were you still?
I think slightly. Like I remembered I was breathing. I remembered like consciously making myself breathe for whatever reason, but I wasn't worried about it. I was like,
so continue from the wormhole. Continue from the wormhole.
Well, that was, and then like I said, I saw like after the wormhole thing, it turned into that those 2 skulls looking at each other, and then after that I saw the wall of eyes, and like a bunch of eyes at diagonals. Oh man, it was freaking trippy as fuck. But I call that the waiting room, because like I said, it was only the 1 hit. If I would have done 3 hits, I think I would have been blasted off in Terrence McKenna land.
So you knew you took it. in other words, because at the peak of an
Yeah,
acid trip, you're not aware that you took acid.
Yeah, like I said, you maintain your same consciousness you have
Okay.
right now, like your way of thinking and everything. But I decided to like relax and just go with it because it wasn't scary at all, you know. Yeah, dude. And then I like kind of like woke up from it, and it still felt like I was on a real low dose of shrooms for like another 5 minutes, and then completely back to normal. But it felt like I had gotten some sleep, like I was more awake. You know what I mean?
So you had the rest of it going, okay. That's like I just got a gates. I was just at the gates of the castle, and
Yeah,
if
I
I
call
take
it
the
the
rest of
lobby.
this, I'm going
I
in
call it
there.
the lobby. So the next, so I went and bought a meth pipe, and I got the goop into it. And I'm like sitting there hitting it. And I do the one hit. I'm like, oh god, I'm starting to feel fucking weird. I'm like, but I gotta hit it more. And I hit it the second time. I was like, oh god, I can't hit anymore. I'm about to go out of this reality. I'm like, fuck, where am I gonna set this fucking thing? So like, I got my shoes and I pushed them together and like put the pipe on the soles. You know what I mean? And then I went and laid down. And I didn't get the wormhole that time. It was just all kinds of cool patterns and everything. Granted, it was like 2 days later. Supposedly you don't really have to wait that long. But yeah,
So how could
after
you have
that,
done
it
more?
felt like I blasted through outer space for like 30 seconds, like warp speed. And next thing you know, it's like I was in an astral projection, like a lucid dream where I could see landscapes but nothing was like this world. You know what I mean? There was like buildings. It was like an endless plain. And it's like I could see forever too. And I didn't see
How
any other entities or anything like that. Just everything was crystalline looking. And
People
how are you moving? How are you moving? Like were you
I was just walking around. I don't know.
were you
Maybe I was floating,
were
like
you
third
yeah?
person floating.
I was just
Yeah.
because
I don't recall having a body or anything in there. But it was overwhelming. Like it was like I said, like going instantly into a super vivid dream.
I gotta get this. You can get it online, right?
Yeah, you can. You can get it on Silk Road, and Silk Road is still. The last time I logged into it, it was still very much prominent, and you can do it. Usually, I think they use ink cartridges to post it to you. However, saying that, people who've experienced intensive ayahuasca trips, they talk of a place that you go to just before it really peaks, or just at the the beginnings of the pinnacle of when it really takes effect, of a darkness that you enter, like when you're losing touch with physical reality, and a darkness ensues, but it's a very, very shiny. The best way I've heard it described is like everything kind of like closes in and goes black, but there's a like a resounding shininess, like if really deep jet black had a metallic finish to it, or a shininess to it, that would be the best way of describing it. And it's not something that I've experienced, so I can't put it into words. But that's how other people put it into words. And then after that, you are taken. You are kind of chaperoned. You are kind of taken on a journey by spirits, or people that guide you, and people will meet you and say to you, and okay, this does sound a little bit fantastical, and maybe it's a little bit.
See, those are the things that I don't believe in, because when it comes down to psychedelics.
Why not though? I mean,
because it makes too much sense. Just like dreams, I'm really attached to the dreams that I have, and I have great nightmares. And when they make sense, it's bullshit. When it doesn't make sense, that's when it's correct.
How else would you describe it though? I mean, the only way to make sense of something that is completely out of context to your normal living, like for instance,
because that sounded logical. What you just said sounded logical, though. usually there's no logic in these things. You
But
know,
then,
there's no awareness either. You can't
unless
like say, here I
okay,
am.
fair enough.
I'm
Yeah, I totally get that. But how else would you contextualize that? How else would you?
You
put that
can't.
in? No, exactly. You can't. So I can only do the best. And this is only second hand at best, maybe third hand information that I'm trying to convey to you. So
I mean, I've heard people talking about it too, and they get really like far out with like this advertisement almost. Like I know my hallucinations really well, and I know that like LSD, like acid, kind of made everything took on like a sheen, like a almost like a blue kind of sharpness, and everything got, the contrast was always turned up on LSD. Everything got crisp around the edges, and usually in the peak, that's when I would have the moments where whatever I was looking at, I would go like fast and then slow and small and then big. I would change shape, change sizes. I would go microscopic in the middle of my hand, and then I would go back looking down at everything. The real tactile kind of hallucination. And mushrooms was always very
more in your head,
more physical. It almost felt like more physical. Like if I put my face into a pillow, I would start to feel whatever my face is feeling. Like I would usually see like lava bubbles, like kind of just like cheap hallucinations, like bubbles and drips and shit like that. And it never really got psychological.
Wiggly worms.
Yeah.
Wiggly worms. Everything.
Yeah, stuff like that. I would see penises and like sexual body parts. I always got that too. It always had to go there for me too, because I saw so much nudity as a child. That's like the weird aspect of it. But if I heard music, that's when everything turned back into machines, and like the spinners and the flippers and the diagonals. You know, when you listen to guitar, and I was always confused as to whether or not it was because I've played those instruments, I was having those type of hallucinations. Like if I heard a guitar, I would see strings or like lines struck, and like the percussive aspect of a guitar, the way the pick strikes the strings, and like that way. And because I'm a drummer, I saw drums in a whole different way. But like sounds turned into colors, like bass would turn into like a gold or like a brown, or the whole synesthesia thing would kick in.
Do you do hand drumming as well, or are you more a kit drummer?
No, I guess kit drummer. I never really experimented too much with like congas or
djembes,
the djembes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have rhythm, you have rhythm. You know,
Yeah.
We're all musicians because we all sing in the shower, or not in the shower, but figuratively speaking, we all sing in the car, and we're all drummers too, because we all tap. And then there are people that don't have rhythm at all, and there are people like this. There are also people that don't have souls. And I remember the first time I heard that. It blew my mind. I was like, really? There are people without souls?
Look,
and
I think they are like movie extras.
I'm a drummer as well, or at least that's what I chose to do when I scored very highly on the Bentley test. And I've been hand drumming. Once I left school, I didn't have access to a kit, although that I was really like getting really into it by the time I was like 15, 16. So then I just explored and exploited mostly hand drumming, which I have a collection of hand drums and stuff. Going back to the trip, surely that it's going to be subjective to your own experiences. I mean, like say for somebody who's had certain experiences within their life, that you're only going to explore the extremities of the resources which is within your experiences, and your mind is going to be opened up to memories that you've already had. So that's going to be extrapolated upon and explored during the trip. Like there can't be.
you become a sponge in a way. Because if I was outdoor, the best trip, and if you're gonna do mushrooms, make sure you're by the beach, because nothing, no music, no cloud, no space, no inner space, no penises, nothing will come close to the beach, because the waves go in and the waves go out, and that happens. That happens in the background. Now, I was with 2 friends of mine, and they played a little trick on me. We were all laying in the sand, and there was like a carnival like off to the left, so there was like noise in my peripheral, and we were laying there, and I didn't realize that they got up and walked back, and that the tide was coming in. So as I was laying on the sand at night, I looked over and I saw, you know, when a wave pulls out and all those tiny little bubbles, like all those little bubbles pop in the sand as the wave kind of pulls it, when there's like an inch of water and it just kind of sucks it back out again. That was happening over and over again. And there was like that times like a trillion over and over again. And then I didn't realize that the water was coming really close, and then came all over me. But the cadence and the rhythm of the ocean back and forth became this like it was like the ocean is the closest thing we can get to Earth, because there's more ocean than there is land. So when you get into like water, it took on a whole different meaning. I had never seen mushrooms in that way. And the sand too, it all made sense. I can't really remember it too much, because we were having a laughing trip too, because I was with 2 friends that I don't see too often. And whenever I do see them, it's just jokes and words and funny shit and sounds and stuff. So we were laughing our asses off. And we made the mistake of going to a 7-Eleven, and we were just repeating everything everybody else was saying. And we were losing it. There was a cop there who was he looked like
you didn't try talking to a police officer, did you?
No, we were looking at this guy, and I kept on, because I'm already bizarre as it is without mushrooms, and I kept on saying to my friend, "Yo, is that my arm? You want my arm, kid? You want my arm? Come on, get under my armpit." And it looked like he was giving his arm to everyone, because he had these really offset body parts where he did too many shoulder workouts. He was like an older classic mustache cop, and he looked like he was separating himself all over the place. And I was like, like,
could you imagine him doing reps in his bedroom, like just working?
Exactly. It was all just like flesh. It was flesh all over the place. And these kids that were there, they were like fiddling around with shit. And I was just looking around like, oh my God, get me the fuck out of here. All this shit. All these little shits like looking at each other, all awkward. And I was scanning and so receptive to all of it, and like hyper receptive to all of it. And girls too. There were like young girls there looking at us. Look, can only imagine what we look like with our eyes like and like they were like, oh my god, look at these guys, oh my god. And you start thinking like they're talking about you, and then it just folds over onto itself, and like your head goes into someone else's head, and like you're looking at yourself, and it just switches all over the place to the point where you get to, you're just like, get me the fuck out of here. And you got to be with good people. That's
yeah, absolutely.
Set in the setting and people and music.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, one of the best, I would say. Well, not the best, but it's just like the most prominent trips that I ever did when I was younger. I was maybe I would have been like 19 at the time, and it wasn't until the morning, like we'd had a whole night of it, and I played, and me and a friend of mine, we weren't really actually talking at the time very much. We'd kind of like grown apart a little bit, but we were still like mates, but it was, we were trying to, I don't know, we're just kind of grown apart, but we decided that that we would play some punk records together in the morning, and this is after a long night of partying. It was actually New Year's Eve 2000s going into 2001. And yeah, it came to the morning, and I had all these punk records on me, and these were like collected records from a guy that had been into punk music from the very, very inception of it. So like, I was very actually privileged to have this.
What were you listening to? MC5? Stooges?
I didn't really know anything about punk music. It was all mostly like GHB, germ-free adolescence, like really early English punk, like, and quite underground stuff. You know, I'll just name drop for a second. It was like Dead Kennedys, like, but
Okay.
really, really early. Rare stuff that was all like either singles or records. It was mostly albums, so it was mostly like singles selected off albums.
It was all.
Yeah, like properly aggressive, more, you know, rhythm-based 4/4.
Mosh pits.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So. Anyway, we started playing, and we were playing to an audience of much older people. Like me and my mate were like, he was like maybe 20 and I was 19, and we kind of knew because we'd been into it for a while anyway. The records, and we were playing it, and one of the older guys said, "Oh, I've got some liquid acid. Would you like some?" Yeah, of course we would. Yeah, so this is like halfway through our set. So a mate of mine had a load, and as the pipette was, it missed his mouth, and I saw it happening, and some of it fell on his chin. I said, "Oh, he didn't get it. It fell on his chin." So he had a load more, and then I had a load. So, "Oh, do you want some as well, Chris?" And I was like, "Yeah, go on then." Anyway,
Go on then.
A little while into it, yeah, we started coming up on this, and we were playing as the set progressed. I remember distinctly. I remember when we played Germ. I don't know whether you know X-Ray Specs, Germ-Free Adolescence. That particular song, like dum 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 dum. It's a quite a slow punk song, and it's got quite a euphoric, echoing voice part to it, and. That's when it really rang true, and we started really coming up, and we're just like, fucking hell, we can't do this for much longer, otherwise we're gonna go fucking crazy. And my mate was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and we're kind of, we haven't really fallen out, but we'd sort of stopped communicating with each other, but we were really, really close before that. Like to the point where, you know, we'd had some very prominent first experiences of drugs and hanging around, and there was a large group of friends, but a lot of them had already gone by then. So it's much older people. Anyway, we finished our set, and then whoever else, I really actually can't remember what happened after that. Somebody else must have taken over, and the party carried on. And then we went back to. There was two houses. We had two groups of mates, and they lived on like adjacent streets. So there was two houses that we could have gone to. We chose to go to the other one where our more.
So what happened, Chris? So like, okay. What?
The point is that we'd come up on this acid. We remember driving back, and one of the other guys that had just come out of prison. For non-payment of credit card bills. It was nothing nefarious at all. It was he'd come out of prison. He drove us back to the other house, and the way I remember it is that when we got back there, all of our other friends had already had the whole night of partying, and they're all going to sleep, and there was like maybe two of them up. And the two that were up were this couple that were going through like the end of a relationship. And I was going there. I was like, "Oh, we've just had loads of acid," and they were just like, "Oh, we're just going to sleep," and it's like, "Oh, fuck."
Hey,
anyway.
if I drop out, it's just because my signal went dead, and I'll jump back in. And
yeah.
in like a few minutes after.
Yeah, no worries. So we got back there, and the only thing that we could do was sit in the kitchen because like every room was taken in the house, and this ex-girlfriend of the guy who's like quite protective over the whole situation was like, no, you can't sit in here and like trip for the next 3 hours because my ex-girlfriend is going to sleep and whatever had happened before that, so you're gonna have to go in the kitchen. Anyway, there was this really noisy fridge in the kitchen, so we were at the point where we were that fucking high and tripping. Not to mention that, you know, we'd been up all night. I'd been DJing before that as well as the punk set, and he was knackered as well. So we were really low on energy. We just had, you know, a whole night's worth of partying. So the only thing that we could do is listen to the motor of the fridge make really, really weird noises for the next 5 hours. And it may well not have been 5 hours. It may have only have been like 45 minutes or 2 hours. But the frequency that the motor of the fridge was making was just enough, and it was just like, it was like a really, really acidy, like 303 style trippy sound. And we spent the next what felt like 5 hours. I don't know how long it was. It was already light by then. Listening to the motor of this fridge carry on, because neither of us could sleep.
I got one.
Neither of us could conduct a conversation with each other, and it you know, it was just like that for like what felt like 5 hours.
So I'm sitting on the porch with a friend of mine, and we just took acid, and he's freaking out because like he doesn't know anyone at this party, and I'm sitting with him on the steps because my other friend was like, "Yo, go out there, TJ's freaking out." And I was like, "All right, I'll go out there." So we're sitting there, and a penny, we're totally to the point where every time I look at him, he's looking at me, and he's like, your jaw is in my skull. And I was like, your eyeballs are in my fucking forehead. Stop looking. And I was like, stop looking at me. And we're like, holy shit, I think the leaves are purposely falling off the tree in front of us. And everything was really crunchy. And at one point, change fell out of his pocket and went down maybe 2 or 3 steps on the front stoop, and it sounded like they went on for 5 minutes. It was like ding 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 ding. I was like, holy shit, what did you hear that? It was just a penny dropped. And it went on, it was on delay, because you know how acid is. Acid's like everything's on a boss delay. And that was it. The penny dropped down the stairs. It kept on going. And then people were walking outside. Hey, you guys, what are you guys up to? Oh, you guys tripping and shit? I'll be like, oh my God. Yeah, is it taking effect, dude? Is it kicking in? Isn't that the worst?
Yeah.
When somebody comes up to you like, is it kicking in?
When they're not tripping, when they're not experiencing it.
Oh yeah. Oh God, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's I think in them situations, you know, it's kind of got to be a collective thing, and you've got to surround yourself in it in order to experience the best that it could be.
That's when you realize you made a mistake by doing it at a party.
Yeah, I mean, there could have been better times, you know. There was other better times. You know, the thing is, when I've done it on my own and other people, I've had some really, really intense shit happen. You know, to the point where I've nearly completely lost it. Like really.
I was jamming with two of my friends.
Getting to the edge of reality, getting to the edge of your own intelligence and your own ability to hold it together, you know. And
that never happened to me. That never happened to me.
That happened to me a couple of times.
that happened to my ex-girlfriend once. She was like, "Oh my God, I think I'm gonna lose it." And I looked at her. I was like, "Are you crazy? Are you really gonna fucking lose it? That's so not you. I'm not losing it." Because I could always laugh. You know, you could always find something that was funny. At least I could. And I was playing music with this guy who actually used to play music with him all the time. He's a guitar player. Wouldn't you believe it? We fell out for about 10 years. And I'm on Facebook, and I think it was like Jaronism's post or something like that. And I see his name. He's replying to something somebody said on Facebook about flat Earth. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's Sean? Holy shit. I'm like, I haven't seen this guy in 10 years. I haven't even spoken to him in 10 years. And he's a fucking flat earther. So I called him up, and he was like, I'm gonna need a beer before this conversation. And I was like, okay. And we actually reconvened, and now we started talking again. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is
I think sorry.
No, this is great. This is great. My friend's playing bass, he's playing guitar, I'm playing drums. I took 2 hits of acid. I only took 1 hit because I didn't have any more left. So I was like, instead of spreading it out, I'll just take it. And I didn't tell them.
You greedy bastard.
Well, I took it and I didn't tell them. So we jammed for a good like 3 hours. Greedy. And all my ride symbol was all over the wall, man. It was just symbols everywhere. And
what was it? Was it a Zildjian pasty? Zildjian? What was it?
No, it was a Zildjian flat top ride actually at the time, an A custom, and it was amazing. You know, it was a different situation. You know, with them not being on acid and I was. It was interesting, and nothing like playing music. That was the best, especially on ecstasy. Nothing beats playing music on ecstasy.
Acid.
You know,
you said acid.
Yeah, I know. But in just thinking about that, it's the E-trips that I did on playing music on E was the best. But in this situation, it was on acid. I love that I'm broadcasting this on a live over the interweb.
I think I do believe that Jaronism has had a much more colourful past than he certainly publicly admits to. He has already publicly admitted to taking cocaine in his.
He's a regular dude. You know, he's a regular guy that just has been thrown into a situation where it just fell into place for him. You know, I think I got nothing against the guy. I think he's a good person.
I do as well. I think he's a good guy. I really do.
He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders in terms of.
I know there must be a lot of pressure. However, it's not like he doesn't have a half decent. You know, he's got.
I'm not saying he's got it bad or anything, but
yeah.
He has been thrown up as a representative, which has its perks. You know, let's just come out and say it here.
All the hoes.
You know, it's nice to be like the most popular kid in the community, but I still think he's a good kid.
Yeah, I think he is. Like underneath
what was that,
everything.
What did you say, Ace?
I said all the hoes.
All the hoes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, am I covering the microphone? Oops.
Yeah, I do as well. I agree. I've got some more mental stories if you'd like to hear them, but then I don't know. They are quite mental. I don't know whether you'd even want to hear them. To be honest, you know, it's quite crazy. But
so wait, what do you play? You play like what do you have set up there?
But right now, as in what I have access to, me personally.
Well, like if you take your what do you have, like a laptop right now?
I've got an Asus ROG. It's a low-end ROG, but it's got quite a high-end processor.
Oh, well, if you can't spin it around the room.
Well, I've got a separate webcam.
Oh, okay.
If you wanna see my abode, that's my hi-fi. It's a 365 watt Sony preamp, and then I use 180 watt Kenwood power amp. That's one of the drums that I have used and for recording and used for stuff.
Who do you live with? Do you live with someone?
No, I've got my own place. I've lived on my own for quite some. I moved out of my parents' place when I was in my early 20s. The first place that I lived in was like a caravan, and then eventually I grew up and got some money, got a girlfriend, and we had our place together. So yeah, I live on my own. I've got my own place.
No lady in the picture now?
No, I don't own this place. It's rented. So
no, I mean there's no girl in the picture now?
No, I don't have a relationship with a regular girlfriend. No.
Okay. Just kidding.
Did you say okay, or are you gay?
No, I said gay.
No, I'm not gay or bi. I like women. I definitely like females. Women. So.
Teddies. Pussies.
I just got this actually about a year ago. 1 second.
Yeah, so I just realized it's almost 3:33 a.m.
Now,
are you in Mountain Time?
Very soon.
Now this is a very, very nice drum. This is a not this one. Sorry, the other one.
Oh yeah, it's got its own case. Got some.
Hey, Chris is like a big kid.
Where are you, Haunted? I mean, validation.
I'm at Validation Boy's house.
Huh?
That was so funny. He thought I was Validation Boy. Oh my god, that's the worst.
That wasn't me.
What's that?
That wasn't me, but you are.
No, I know. Chris thought I was Validation Boy. Oh my god.
I did to begin with. What do you reckon? What do you reckon to this? Look at that.
The hell is it? Copper?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Middle Eastern drum, right?
It's steel drum, or
it's not a Doombek, is it?
It is.
Play it.
It is a Doombek.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's a. Can you make noise? Chris is muted.
Hey, right before he's about to play it, mute. There you go.
Anyway, it just goes on. Go on. But yeah.
It sounds like a techno drum almost. It sounds like freaking techno.
I haven't played for months, so it would take me a while to warm up and play better. Yeah, I can do it. It's.
I could go inside right now and piss my girlfriend off really big time. All I got to do is start playing drums. No. 5 o'clock in the morning. No.
It's like I'm getting on for like 10:30 now, so I won't even piss my neighbours off. They just thought I'd woke up early or something. I know.
That's funny.
What do you got, Greenwich Mean Time? In the meantime. In the Greenwich Mean Time.
Oh, dear.
Gotta love Helmet, man.
Yeah. Y'all, I got to go to bed. It's almost 3:33. It's 3:30 right now.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
I gotta get
5:30
up
where
in like 4 hours, 4.5 hours. I'm not really very tired though. That sucks. I did this like 3 days ago, man. I was just up. I couldn't sleep. I don't know why that hasn't happened to me in a long time. Probably because I'm staring at videos all night. And just every video I kept watching, I was like gonna say, all right, I'll just lay here and listen to it. But then I'm like, oh man, this is so awesome. I gotta watch this one, then I'll go to bed. And then like I watch another one. I'm like, oh, all right, last one. Like, well, it's 5:30. I gotta be up at 7, so 1.5 hours of sleep. That should be good. And then of course, when I wake up in the morning, it's like that mode where you're like in deep sleep and you're almost like fuck the world. Sorry to hiccup. You're almost like fuck the world, you know, like screw them. I'm just gonna stay asleep. Peeping in the window. You should put your girlfriend's hand in a warm bucket of water.
I'm robbing my neighbor's house.
Nice.
Oh, she always locks the door. She's such a paranoid fuck. Hopefully we'll be surprised by Otis.
Otis ready.
Otis, come on, Otis. Be down here by the door. You heard my car.
Did you just get home or something?
Uh-oh. I hear something.
You should go, Kuka! Kuka! It's like, screw you, motherfucker. So what is Otis?
I'm guessing Otis is a canine.
Uh-oh.
My greyhound, it's the laziest dog you'll ever see in your life, man. I loved it though. It never barked. Never like if someone came to the door, she didn't get up and run to the door. You know what I mean? All that kind of shit. You'd come home and she'd be like happy to see you, but she's laying on the couch. And is that a Bachon? A Bachon?
Yeah, he's got a really weird haircut too.
Poodle-y looking almost.
Hey, boo boo.
That is a gay dude's dog if I ever seen it. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny.
No, he's just woken up.
I have a Karen Terrier, actually. Toto from Wizard.
No, he looks lovely. Honestly, he looks like a very, very placid, nice animal.
So white.
And the dog looks good as well.
Hey, boo boo.
Oh.
He's doing his stretches. He's doing his stretches.
Make him do circus dog tricks.
He is. He does his thing, man. He can stand on his hind legs.
Yeah.
Buddy. Stand up.
My dog, I do that. It's called sit pretty, and he like sits there with his arms out like a T-Rex. Just kind of like Yeah.
Hey, hi, Papa. He's going to do the Harrier jet landing.
That's some quality entertainment right here. Quality.
Who's got morning breath? He's like, I know, kisses, kisses. He's a good boy. He's got the smile. He's got a natural smile. Show him the smile.
Dogs can't smile.
What was it from Shaun of the Dead? Dogs can't look up.
Test it.
That shit's funny, man. Nick Frost.
Yeah. It is funny, but it got a little bit samey after a while. But yeah, it's good stuff. Dogs can't test it. Dogs cannot look up. Next time you're near a dog, test it. They all lick their own private parts, and no matter how many times you wash them, clean them, encourage them to stay clean, their breath always smells.
Well, his breath wasn't very good in the beginning because the owner didn't take care of his teeth, so he had to get 10 teeth pulled. And
do you know why dogs' breath smell? Because it's the enzymes in their saliva is some of the enzymes it uses to break down the food in their stomach, as in the enzymes we use to break down our stomach don't usually go up as far as our mouths, where dogs do. They start breaking down the food as they're chewing it. So some of the enzymes that are in the saliva in order to break down the food is some of the enzymes allegedly that is secreted in the shit.
Thank you. Fucking A. Yep. As I got to go to bed. So.
Well, thank you very much for the hangout, Ace, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well, Haunted.
Yeah, man, that was fun. That was interesting.
Thank you for your company, and yeah, it was interesting.
Real on this channel, y'all.
So, some of the stories or experiences that you were sharing as well was very enlightening and quite funny as well. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm
what 16 hours now. I've been on these hangouts.
I'm totally psyched for DMT now.
You should do some, man. I think you'd have an exceptional experience.
What did you say it was? Silk Grove?
Have you got Tor?
No, the dark web stuff, deep web.
Yeah, deep web. The last time I accessed it was a few months ago. If you download Tor, that's the safest way, in my opinion, to access it. So just download Tor, T-O-R. Then it's basically a stripped down version of Firefox. It will work on a Mac as well. If that's I think that looks like a Mac to me. So open up once you've got it installed. It is a stripped down version of Firefox. Open up Tor and then just type in Silk Road. It's a very distinctive website. You'll know it when you get to it. You'll just know. You'll know what. Yeah, you'll know it. It is obvious what it is. There are some charlatan websites that do look like Silk Road, but I think they call it Silk Road 2 now. As far as I know, I think it's like either
Research it.
It's too bright. Yeah, that looks very familiar to me. Silk Road 2. You have to.
Silk Road drugs.
Not sure. The last time I accessed it was a few months ago. The last time I accessed it, it was something like Silk Road 2 or Silk.
But the whole point of the Tor thing is so you're anonymous, so that no one can track your IP address or any of that shit. You know what I mean? You don't want to just buy shit.
Yeah, you really don't. You really don't, because there are. I know they don't have enough resources to track everybody. However, that is a safer way of doing it.
Tor marketplaces.
No, just Tor browser and then Silk Road. I think it was called 2 or version 2 or something like that. You'll know it when you get to it. It's really obvious. Then you can browse it before making any kind of account. Make the account with a disposable or false email address, not tied to any kind of email address that you've already got. But the only thing is, the only downfall is that you have to pay for things using either Bitcoin or PayPal. Usually Bitcoin, but you can transfer funds into Bitcoin to do it. So that there are ways to do it, but you might have to incur a fee. But you can get it, definitely.
Research it first, like watch YouTube videos like how to surf the deep web and blah blah blah. There's tutorials on all that shit. You know.
I was gonna say.
Or you could, if you know anybody in psychedelics, just ask around. It's, you know, how I got a hold of this DMT 2 different times, by the way, was in jail. Like weekend jail I was doing. And
is that a pearl? Is that a pearl kit with Remo skins?
Remo skins, but it's a Slingerland rack tom, pearl floor tom, and a pearl kick drum, and a piece of shit snare. It's not my original kit. My original kit's gone. Very gone. But let me just see something here. What were you just saying, Ace, about being being locked up?
oh yeah, when I was doing weekender jail, like Saturday and Sunday, jail sentence for a couple weekends, I befriended somebody and we started talking about psychedelics and da 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 da. And he one day I come in on a Saturday morning, he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And he goes to give me one of them handshakes where you got something in your hand, right? He's like, "Be careful, don't drop that." I'm like, "What the fuck is this, DMT?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, bro." I'm like, "What?" I didn't ask him for it, nothing, dude. Just give it to me for fucking free. Then, like,
you lucky bastard.
I know. I see. I feel like it was the universe's way, like me, like almost like it was a good thing to have gone to jail.
Did you,
you know what I mean?
Did you have to suck his cock afterwards in order for him to do that for you?
No, this was the weirdest thing, type of jail you could ever imagine. It's more like a church lock-in camp. Like there wasn't police officers or anything. They were like camp counselors wearing polo shirts and shit.
Yeah, well, what they do here in the UK is they don't send you to jail. They just give you a criminal record so you can't be employed, rather than like for anything else apart from a fucking supermarket worker, and then just fine you like £500, which at the time you can't pay off for fucking months. And even if you can't pay it off, they deduct it from any welfare or any kind of wage that you get. Even if you do manage to get a supermarket worker's job or a fucking whatever, grease monkey or anything like that.
Jesus, for a felony or for that's just like a misdemeanor though? You know what I mean?
Misdemeanor, anything like that.
That can prevent you from getting a job? Just
absolutely, mate. Absolutely, because it's all on the criminal record. It's a national database now where anytime that you apply for a job, you have to declare any other misdemeanors, criminal records, even CCJs, which is a county court judgment, which also.
You gotta mute one of your mics, bro.
I thought I did.
Yeah, that's cold-blooded, man. Because here in America, all you have to do is list if you have a felony. Felonies are like assaults, rapes, murders, shit like that.
They count any kind of criminal record, whether it be it's just a criminal record,
and it's like automatic. You can't get the job, or it's like discretion.
Well, you could if it's very trivial, then you could not list it, but then you run the risk if they ever find out afterwards and you haven't declared it, they can terminate your contract at any time. So
what if you do list it and it's very trivial? Can they still hire you, or they just? I mean, is it automatic they won't hire you, or what? I don't get it.
It depends. Like, say for me, when I started stealing petrol from petrol stations regularly, when I was still working in the security industry, eventually I got caught for doing it because it was my like, little protest to the world. And I understand that it is stealing is stealing. I was prohibited from reapplying for a security license, so my career was pretty much over from then on. Even if I didn't declare it and then it came out afterwards, then it's going to be so much worse. So I don't know. I haven't got the experience of not declaring it and then seeing how it pans out afterwards. But I imagine that eventually, your time's going to be up. But it's only kept for so long. Like anything, like a bad debt history is only like 5 years in the UK. But I had credit cards when I was in my early 20s, late teens, that I never paid off. Only small, like maybe it's £500, £700, and they've all expired now. My credit history's reset after that long.
Right.
So I don't know whether it's the same with a criminal history. However, saying that, it depends what industry you work in. I mean, something like shelf stacking in a supermarket or a gas station or whatever, I think it would be less stringent as other industries, say like working for the local council or the local government or whatever. But I don't know because I've not been there yet. So, but yeah, I know for a fact that the criminal record is a criminal record. If you've got any history, it is literally the history of any kind of conviction, whether it be a misdemeanor or it is just literally your record of criminality. Because they have like two forms. They like have a disclosure and an advanced disclosure. An advanced disclosure literally brings up everything, whether it be cautions, harassment warnings, anything and everything that has involved the police. Disclosure is anything that you've been convicted of, as in you've been through the court system and sentenced to or fined. So things like anything criminal, as long as it's been through the court system, would show up on a disclosure. Things like an advanced disclosure, anything that has even involved the police or harassment warnings, non-payment of fines. I don't think debt history. I don't think that comes into it, but that would be.
Yeah, that sucks.
That would be the enhanced disclosure, which would inhibit you of getting a half decent job that paid more than the national minimum wage.
Right.
Okay. Well, y'all, all right. We got to say goodnight to all the 2 people watching.
4.
4? Oh, wow.
Included in that?
No. But yeah, that's crazy. Usually there's at least 30 or 40 people watching. No one loves me anymore. Oh well. Whatever. But yeah, man, we'll have to do this again soon. Maybe tomorrow even. Fuck it.
Yeah, sure. Keep it
Well,
off the streets.
You've got my email address, I hope, from this hangout. So yeah, I'm only a message away. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your company.
Yeah. Well, hey, type it in that chat room though. So
yeah.
Are you really gonna make me do that? Hang on, fuck you. I can bet.
Not in the YouTube chat, in the hangout chat room.
Yeah. I can barely coordinate. Yeah, I can barely coordinate as it is. CHRIS.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, man. Good night.
Keep it flat, bro.